and pains, or a lack of energy? The highly trained team at the Natural Way Letterkenny can provide advice on natural remedies for a number of individual health issues. The Natural Way also has its own brand of herbal treatments to help fight fatigue, relieve digestive discomfort, maintain a healthy immune system and alleviate common menopause symptoms. The Natural Way at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, your one-stop health shop.
It's colourless, it's odorless, it's hard to detect. So carbon monoxide deserves your respect. It could kill you stone dead in just 3 minutes flat. And if you don't believe me, ask me dear Uncle Pat. Thanking you. Coal, turf, oil, gas, even wood, any fuel can harm. So get yourself a carbon monoxide alarm, or you might just wake up dead.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
The time now, 9:19. We're joined on the programme by Keith Kelly, Irish Independent reporter. Keith, good morning to you.
Morning, Greg. Thanks for having me on.
Good to have you with us. Now, you've been writing about an apology issued by Dublin Airport, and hopefully this affects some people listening to this show today and they might benefit from this. So what happened that led to this apology?
Yeah, so Dublin Airport's operator, the DAA, announced yesterday that a pricing system error had led to 4,500 customers of its car park being overcharged by a total amount of €25,000. Now, that overcharging, which the DAA has fully owned up to, relates to 2 flash sales in its car parks that took place in March and May of this year, where parking was to be charged at just a €10 flat rate per day, but that €10 rate, the airport says, was accidentally applied even to off-peak times, which are supposed to be lower. So essentially, customers ended up paying more when they should have been paying less. So, for instance, one consumer reported that before the March sale, that the price for 10 days parking was €83. However, this rose to 110 for the same dates during the sale. And another customer noted that they booked parking for a 5-day stay during the sale at a cost of €60, and then the price for the same parking was just 56 after the sale ended. So they didn't make any savings. So amounts that were overcharged range between €1 to €64, the airport says, but they also said the average amount overcharged was about €5.
Yeah, okay. And if people are affected by this, do they have to check this out themselves, Keith, or will they be automatically contacted by Dublin Airport or what have you?
Yep. So the DAA has basically said that you don't have to lift a finger. If you've been affected, they apologise unreservedly, but you don't have to lift a finger. They will get in contact with you and bring you your refund. And they've also said that they're not just going to refund the amount that you were overcharged, but they're also going to refund overcharged customers their entire booking fees. So all the money that they put in to booking car park, for their car park, will be refunded to all the customers affected. And this is going to cost the airport a total of €350,000.
Oh, it's an expensive mistake, isn't it?
Yeah. I wouldn't want to be responsible for that one. But,
well, you just get away with it, Keith. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Go ahead,
yeah.
Sorry.
No, yeah. If you have been affected, though, customers can expect to be contacted and refunded individually within maybe the next 5 to 10 days.
All right, good stuff. And this triggered an investigation. Why are the Competition and Consumer Protection Commission getting involved? Or if...
Yeah, so the acronym, the CCPC, they said in a statement that it's against the law to provide incorrect or misleading information to consumers about price promotions. So it's their duty to respond to complaints about such mistakes such as this of overcharging customers. And this was the case. They received a number of complaints and they dutifully responded. They contacted Dublin Airport, and Dublin Airport said that as soon as they learned of their mistake, that they took immediate action to rectify this. So the airport has also said that they are putting in place, checks to make sure that the same thing doesn't happen again.
All right, good stuff. So you can, if you were in the airport, you will be notified. You don't have to do anything. Thanks, Keith. That's Keith Kelly, Irish Independent reporter. Now, we were talking about the closure of Balear ISPCA, and the voice I thought was absent from this was the ISPCAs themselves. What is going on here? What are their plans? And they did release a statement to us, which I'll read now. I know it's been carried on the news, but perhaps some of you didn't hear. Just to give you a background, we've been listening to people in animal welfare circles who are very concerned about the closure of Balliar. They've called it Ballygar here. Balliar, because of the inhumane situation it will leave animals in this county. But the statement reads as follows: the closure of Balliar ISPCA Centre is a decision taken by the ISPCA with regard to the immediate viability of our organisation earlier this year. The closure is not related to the proposed merger with the DSPCA, which concerns the future viability of our other services. The ISPCA has faced a number of serious financial challenges over recent years due to the need to meet an overwhelming crisis in animal cruelty cases and the pressure on our facilities. Naturally, they say, our operations needed to be tailored to meet with ongoing income, and we carried out a full review of all costs. The results of this review illustrated, unfortunately, that it's not financially viable to maintain the facility in Donegal. A recognition of our service delivery and facilities has been essential to become more efficient and continue to prioritise the needs of animals across the country. All animals will be rehomed to other facilities. The ISPCA has put in place planned redundancies at the Donegal facility, and they say, we will observe all rules and entitlements to staff at this difficult time as we continue our discussions with them. They go on to say that it's important to stress that our inspectorate work is separate and an ISPCA inspector will still cover the Donegal area. Could we follow up that press release, Donna Marie, and actually find out what they're going to do with the building, the ownership of the building, what their plans are for the building, if you don't mind, please, because that's also a critical point here. But why didn't they get on to the likes of us and other media in Donegal if there was a shortfall there, give the public an opportunity maybe to say, right, we didn't realise there was an issue here. Maybe the association isn't set up in such a way whereby that is possible. But, you know, to sort of do a review and not tell anyone that, you know, they're struggling is a bit problematic. Anyway, if you have any views in relation to that, 08660 25,000. I'm joined on the programme now by Councillor Declan Meehan, who's Lasca Hirlock of Donegal County Council's Defective Concrete Block Committee. Declan, thank you so much for joining us.
No bother. Good morning, Greg.
It's hard to progress any work or engagement if the housing agency is absent. What's going on here, do you think?
Yeah, look, Greg, this is something that has come up all too often at the Defective Concrete Blocks Committee. And yesterday, yet again, we had a no-show from the housing agency's representative. And that was the fifth meeting out of 9 that we have held in this new term since September last year. So the majority of meetings that we've had on that committee, very important oversight committee for the administration of the scheme and to give voice to the issues that homeowners are faced with under the scheme through access and lack of access to it. And the majority of those meetings, we've had no representation from the housing agency. And the housing agency obviously play a very critical role in the administration of the scheme along with Donegal County Council, but also on decision making. So to not have them there does not allow elected representatives of the people trying to get on the scheme, going through the scheme. We're not able to question them and hold them to account. Yeah,
and you know, some might say they're avoiding questions because, I mean, whilst, you know, there are a lot of questions about the Defective Concrete Block scheme, many of those questions would need to be answered by the housing agency, and there are commitments out there of soon, it's upcoming, we'll have details on that. You know, is it your view that they're not turning up simply because they don't have answers to the questions, the basic questions you'd be asking? And when I say you, I mean the meeting generally.
Yeah, well, look, I think that has to be something that you would think about and consider. I think that one of the most important meetings where we didn't have representation from the housing agency was in July when we had a deputation from downgraded homeowners and we had a presentation from Marty McElhenney speaking to the experience of downgraded homeowners and those awaiting their appeals. And the housing agency weren't there to hear that. Very powerful, very informative presentation. And that, I think, just is unacceptable. The people who are making these decisions and the representatives of those people need to hear the real life effects and impacts that the decisions that the housing agency are taking are having on people going through this scheme.
And just to be clear, when you say no show, they would be scheduled to appear at every meeting, would they? And perhaps send their apologies in the days or weeks in advance of the next scheduled meeting, or simply not turn up?
Yeah, to be fair, they are scheduled to attend every meeting, and they send apologies either to the chair or to the director of service who works over the committee. But as I say, we've had a majority of meetings now since last September where those apologies have been received, and very important meetings that there's no representation from the housing agency, no ability for us to represent the electorate and holding them to task and posing questions that are of vital importance.
I mean, obviously you can call it out in forums like this, right? But I mean, would the housing minister not need to get involved here and say, look, you need to be attending these meetings. You might not have all the answers, but at least show your face and relate any information that you may have. Is it an intervention from him that's required?
Yeah, look, I think that the housing agency need to take responsibility themselves first and foremost, but failing that, and I mean, the committee has written to the housing agency on a number of occasions to outline this issue since September of last year. So absolutely, we've also written to the Minister for Housing on this issue, and just yesterday the committee agreed, following a proposal from Councillor Joy Beard, to write to the chair of the appeals board in relation to delays there. So correspondence is regular from the committee. All too often, I think it falls on deaf ears, and particularly in relation to this issue of housing agency representation at the committee meetings.
So obviously you mentioned there the plight of those people in limbo, the downgraded homeowners. What other key issues would you need to be engaging with the housing agency on at these meetings? I mean, obviously the general working of the scheme, but what other issues are not being addressed properly or progressed as they should with the absence of the housing agency?
Well, that is the primary issue, is around downgraded homeowners and the various options that are being selected for homeowners by the housing agency. And that is obviously critical. We do receive a report from the housing agency, even if they haven't attended, usually, not always. And that's obviously very welcome to have that information. Other key issues that relate to the housing agency's presence at the committee would, in my opinion, be hearing from the various community reps and homeowner reps that we have come in, because I think that that's vital, that the people who are working on this scheme in Dublin have an acute understanding of how it affects homeowners here in Donegal.
I mean, it leaves the council out to dry a little bit. I presume the housing agency might have some questions to answer, for example, in terms of delayed payments, frustrations over extra documentation being sought for, and it taking weeks to progress it again. And we've spoken to homeowners, and I'm sure you have, that contractors have said to them, sorry, see that start date, I'm not doing it because I've got 2 other houses and I'm not getting paid and I can't commit to another one because I simply don't have the resources. That kind of stuff would be really important to get regular updates on what they're doing and how they're doing it and what they hope to change into the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, at even from the Donegal County Council side, and anyone, I think, who has engaged with the staff in the DCB office will agree that the staff there are absolutely excellent, and the work that they are doing is to the best of their ability. There have been extra resources put in to that office now, because that office is getting busier with 580 remediations underway in Donegal. Still not near enough. We know that only 6.1% of homes have been fully remediated as a proportion of the applications into the scheme.
And we don't know what percentage of those are actually probably outer leaves.
Yes,
or what have you.
We have those figures. I don't have them to hand at the minute, but I think it's, as you say, the housing agency need to be there to hear about the various kind of difficulties with the administration of the scheme. We have a new update on the report now every month, which talks to and gives us information around the average number of days it takes to process a claim. And that's standing currently, the average is standing at 28 days where there's a further information request required, and it's at 12 days where there's no further information request required. And the aim is to get both of those, one of them already is, below 14 days. But it's important and it's critical that the housing agency are there to hear all of this information that's coming both from the public representatives who sit on the committee, the homeowner representatives that come in, the other industry representatives that come into that committee, but also from the staff of Donegal County Council.
And finally, we hear similar frustrations in relation to trying to secure meetings with, Uisce Éireann representatives. I mean, is there any way to determine if this is uniquely a Donegal problem, or are councillors across the country expressing similar concerns? We have a democratically elected group of individuals that are to bat on our behalf, right? And I recognise the frustration that you're hamstrung in doing so when you can't get a face-to-face with the likes of Uisce Éireann, or, as they are scheduled, a monthly meeting with reps from the housing agency.
Yeah, look, when you talk about Uisce Éireann, Greg, that's a huge issue that councillors the length and breadth of the country are faced with, unfortunately. And I know that, and my colleagues know that from speaking to their colleagues in other counties. We are given one workshop a year at municipal district level with Uisce Éireann. There are many queries that I raised at last year's workshop with Uisce Éireann that I'm still waiting on responses to. So that gives you an indication of, I suppose, the lack of to and fro with utilities like Uisce Éireann in particular. But it is frustrating when you're trying to do your job as a public representative and you can't get that face time with the people who ultimately you need to be talking to sort something out for a community or an individual or a family or whatever that is.
Okie doke. Thanks very much for your time. I do appreciate it. That is Councillor Declan Meehan, who is Lasca Hirloch of the Donegal County Council's Defective Concrete Block Committee. They're frustrated that the housing agency is frequently not turning up for those meetings to try and progress the concerns of people. Various topics we've been talking about. Of course, Fianna Fáil yesterday selected Jim Gavin. A caller says to be the presidential candidate. A caller says great to see Fianna Fáil deciding to opt to play the GEA card rather than going for a loyal long-term party member as president. They don't like that. We were also talking about the illegal disposal, throwing away of mattresses, completely unacceptable. But we did then have the conversation about how it's incredibly expensive, and there were various suggestions as to what one might do with the old one. But this caller says, I purchased a mattress in Grove Furnishings and they took away my old one for me. So, credit where it's due. Thank you very much for that. In relation to the assassination of Charlie Kirk in the United States, tolerant far left, so-called liberals strike again. Strange how it's mostly them going around shooting people. The left-wing media, CNN and MSNBC, were on a couple of nights ago stirring up hatred against Charlie Kirk, calling him all sorts of things, including a racist, disgraceful and disgusting, they say. But people don't know yet who is responsible for this assassination. And such is the world we live in now that people are actually even suggesting that it could be from the other side as some sort of a distraction. The world's gone, it's gone beyond sort of crazy. Rejoicing all around in the woke pro-abortion, trans-promoting anti-Christian media today if they can't silence opposing views by news censorship. And, today, maybe you can issue that criticism rightfully. It could be in the other direction tomorrow. We need to get past that. We need to find a way of getting past it. Hi, Greg. This policy of changing the population through migration will make the Irish a minority. Do the Irish people have the right to be the majority in their own country? Well, we need to maybe sit down and have a grown-up conversation about this. The truth is we are aging rapidly. We are getting older and older and older. More people are going to be reliant on care than there are working. We are not producing children. So, there comes a point really whereby, Ireland... if it were just Irish, gets to a point whereby, way more people are alive and dying than are being born. I'm not saying migration is the solution to that or immigration is the solution to that, but, it has to be part of a broader, wider conversation. Who's going to look after me in 30 years? Are my boys going to have kids anytime soon? I don't know. Just to let you know that there are 2 stray ponies that have been found, and they are at Carlin's Farm, Milltown, Rafo. So if you've lost a couple of ponies, they are safe. Get in touch with us and we can pass on some deets for you there.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
All around Ireland, ordinary people are doing amazing things every single day with Return. They're turning empty bottles and cans into everything from vaccines to volunteer rescue boats. Like Buncrana Hearts Football Club, who are raising money through Return for sports equipment. Now, thanks to empty bottles and cans, their pitch is full. Join the thousands of initiatives using Return for Good at return.ie.
Planning a celebration? Discover the brand new Lily's Restaurant at the Mount Errigal Hotel. A stylish new space with beautiful surroundings and your own private bar. Perfect for birthdays, communions, anniversaries and more. Book now at Res Diary or call 074 912 2700.
If you have a special occasion coming up, Watson Menswear stock a great selection of men's and boys' formal and casual wear. Top casual brands include Mishmash, French Connection, Tommy Bow and Penguin. Formal wear names include Rimazumo, Sixth Sense and White Label, with a special suit deal of a 3-piece suit, shirt, tie and shoes, all for only €299. Watson Menswear, open 7 days a week on Main Street, Letterkenny and at watsonmenswear.com.
Your specialty is quality tiles, bathroom suites and wooden floors. Who is the best range of tiles in Donegal?
Crawford Tiles.
The best wood flooring?
Crawford Tiles.
The best bathroom suites?
Crawford Tiles.
5-day bathroom refits?
Crawford Tiles.
And who's been tampering with my questions?
That'll be me.
Crawford Tiles, Castlefin. That'll be them. 07491 43942.
It's Patrick Feeney here, and I'm looking forward to the Highland Radio Country Music Weekend at the Clanry Hotel in Letterkenny this October the 31st and November the 1st. I'll be on stage along with Michael English, David James, Stacey Breen and Jordan McFadden. It's going to be 2 fantastic nights of music and dancing, but spaces are filling fast, so book now at theclanryhotel.com or highlandradio.com.
You heard us talking yesterday about a new report which showed that Ireland has the 3rd largest rate of fetal alcohol spectrum disorder in the world. It was a study carried out by the RCSI University of Medicine and Health and revealed that the levels are up to 10 times the global average. So obviously something this significant needs further conversation. Tristan Casson-Rennie is CEO of FASD Ireland. He joins me now. Tristan, thank you for your time today. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. Thanks for inviting me on the show.
So, what is fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, and how? And I presume it is in many ways. How might it affect people?
Well, fetal alcohol spectrum disorder is essentially a neurodevelopmental disorder. It's something that arises from drinking alcohol, and when we say drinking alcohol, we mean any amount, so even 1 glass, either prior to conception, at conception, or during pregnancy. Now, the important information to remember here is that both parents have a responsibility to lower the risk of FASD, so the recommendation is that a man should abstain from alcohol in the 64 days before conception, at the point of conception, and then the lady should also abstain from alcohol at the point of conception through the entire 9 months of pregnancy.
So do you think there's a bit of mis or disinformation out there that maybe the majority of people would presume that the mum drank while pregnant?
Yes, it's been a long-standing myth that this is a woman problem. Particularly in Ireland, the focus has always been around the woman bearing the responsibility. But science informs us now that this is a shared parental responsibility, and it becomes more of a conception challenge, essentially to lower the risk of, or completely avoid the risk of FASD. Pre-planned pregnancy is essential because, you know, it's a big ask to ask people to start counting on calendars what 64 days looks like.
But I mean, how many, I don't know what the rate of planned or unplanned pregnancy is. I mean, you know, there's different areas of that as well. people
Sure.
might sort of go off contraception and say if it happens, it happens, and or other people might actually, try and time ovulation. We just simply don't know, or maybe the contraception has failed. So, with all that in mind, does it talk to really the level of drinking in this country as a whole?
It certainly talks to the relationship that Ireland has with alcohol. Just to answer your first question there, the numbers of unplanned pregnancies in Ireland is 2 in 5, so it's fairly high. And of course, if somebody doesn't recognise that they are pregnant, perhaps until week 4, 5, or 6, and alcohol features in their social calendar, even one glass of wine, say on a Friday night after work, then that developing baby has already been exposed perhaps 4 or 5 or 6 times until the mum finds out that she's pregnant and then says, well, look, I'm going to stop drinking.
How is fetal alcohol spectrum disorder diagnosed?
Well, very sadly, it's not currently diagnosed in Ireland. We are an outlier of most of the world at the moment. We are struggling as a society for the simple reason that government haven't nailed their colours to the mast on this one and come out and said we recognise FASD as a neurodevelopmental disability. So we have no clinical lead for FASD currently at the HSE. We have only one diagnostic clinician in Ireland, which we're very lucky to have, and as an organisation we work with this clinician. But in the main, a lot of people are having to pay privately to go to clinics in the UK, Spain, in Canada, America. So it's very difficult at the moment in Ireland to get a diagnosis. But to answer your question, how do we get a diagnosis? Well, there's a number of trains of thought, but essentially there's a four-pronged approach. And one is to obviously have the evidence of prenatal alcohol exposure. This is where a parent would come forward and say, look, I didn't realise that there was a challenge here if I was drinking alcohol. Secondly, we would be looking for a blood test of the person to rule out any genetic reason why there would be the behaviours or challenges, or even some of the body dysmorphia that we might see. And then we would be looking for social, emotional, and mental health challenges as well. And there may be also, there's up to 428 recognised comorbid conditions. Some of those are autism, ADHD, autism, dyspraxia, dyscalculia. There's lots. There's 428. We don't have time to list them all.
No,
today.
but so really, whilst they might not be picked up as fetal alcohol spectrum disorders, they may well be picked up as something else.
Yes, correct.
So in other words, people, when we talk about not being diagnosed with FASD, it doesn't mean they do not get a diagnosis, and maybe the school supports and what have you that might be required.
Yeah, absolutely. We know that the majority of people living with FASD in Ireland will be known to state agencies for one reason or another. So, they may have a diagnosis of ADHD, for example. Now, that's good because it's getting them some level of attention and support. However, what we do know is that if the underlying condition is FASD, then how we manage the ADHD, particularly with medication, changes dramatically. It's really important that we get to the bottom of what the primary cause of the symptoms that we are seeing.
But how willing are we as a general population to go down the road of pursuing something that could attribute, guilt, responsibility, or blame? I hate to use those words, and I certainly wouldn't attribute them to anyone, right? But why would we go down a route that some of these, it can be difficult enough to process and deal with, but to find out then that maybe even in the absence of knowledge, you are actually responsible. Do we need to have that info?
Yeah, we do. It's really important. I will just say that no parent sets out to harm their baby.
No,
That's
of course,
quite
but
important.
unfortunately, we can't necessarily convince ourselves of that and still have some of the emotions I talked of.
Sure, but if we don't get to the if we don't understand what the primary diagnosis is, then we are faced with many challenges on how we address the treatment or the support of that person.
Yeah.
And so, as I said, if we're treating ADHD with a drug that perhaps would be ideal if that person had ADHD solely as the only condition they're living with. That's okay. But if they're living with FASD, those drugs are actually going to overstimulate the person. They're going to lead to aggressive behaviors. They will lead to lots of different challenges that perhaps aren't needed, side effects that aren't needed, that can really severely impact that person's life. So we do need to get to the bottom of what the primary diagnosis is, because the management of it is different.
Yeah, and I think a piece of information that people are maybe learning for the first time today is prior to conception, the alcohol consumption of the father can also play a role as well. So just to be conscious of that.
And actually it has very much more long-term effects if the father has the impact. What science informs us is when their offspring gets to the age of 40, they will have severe challenges with cardiovascular, with renal, with diabetic, and with inflammation. So they will get significant disease or illness once they reach the age of 40 if there has been paternal exposure to alcohol.
And it has had that. I mean, at the same time too, not every child whose both parents drank right up to the moment of conception will be affected by fetal alcohol spectrum disorder either. It's just so happens if that combination of things does have it present.
Yes.
Okay. Right. Thank you very much for that. I hope this is not one of those problems either that we don't want to get to the bottom of because we don't want to have to try and find the resources to fix.
Well, it certainly feels like that in the sector at the moment. It's very, very difficult to engage with government. We have very strong support in Senator Anne Rabbitte, who was formerly the Minister for Disability. But in the current government, there's a lot of head turning rather than action. And that's a real shame, given their pledge and their commitment to disability. So we still knock on doors. We still try to engage. But it's a really, my hairline is starting to match yours, Greg. So,
okay. But I'd make a choice here. I could grow out a big afro if I wanted to. Not.
Good man.
Hey, come here. Finishing on a higher note, Jacob, lovely fella, stayed with us during the summer from Rosaline and Brendan. I presume that's your Jacob?
Yes, that is my Jacob. Wow.
That's the power of local radio, right?
Excellent.
They said he was a lovely young fella. So just leave it on a separate sort of light-hearted human note. It's all human, but you know what I mean. So take that with you. Thanks so much, Tristan. I appreciate your time. Look after yourself. That's Tristan Casson-Rennie, CEO of FASD Ireland. Of course, there's no surprise that Ireland is the third highest in the world. The visible signs of drunk driving, street violence and vomit-strewn pavements are all too obvious, but the hidden health problems are not. And I suppose that's right why we're having those conversations. But as I said to Tristan, it feels a little bit like something like Lyme disease, for an example, whereby you don't recognise it or you don't get to the bottom of it because do you really want to sort of have to deal with it and fund it and support people? And I hope fetal alcohol syndrome spectrum disorder isn't in that space. If you have any comment in relation to that, please let us know. 086 60 25,000. We're going to be speaking actually to a representative of the ISPCA a little later on in the show, which I'm very pleased about because I just want to get to the bottom of a few things. The answers are their answers. I can't challenge what they believe to be the truth, but I would like to get it all out on the record so we know where we're at going forward. That's coming up and so much more besides on this Thursday's 9 till noon show. I'm going to take a break. We'll be back with the weather shortly.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
You want a little treat but not chocolate or gelato? Check out this coffee that we made called Bravado. Sit and sip it slowly, or if you're in a rush, it tastes as good on foot or while you wait for the bus. Deliciously different. Get your new favorite cup. If you want some roasted goodness, come hit us up. Your taste buds have voted. They want a flavor that's goated. They are ready to thrive. Now Bravado's arrived. Deliciously different. Find your nearest store at bravado.com.
Hi, Michael here from iMotors. I would like to invite you up to our used car sales event.
The big end of summer sales event with fantastic offers. Customers from all over the Northwest are coming. Over €200,000 in reductions. Plus, spin the wheel for cash and prizes with every purchase. September 13th to 21st. Don't miss out. Visit us at iMotors.
iMotors. Fearless generation.
Elevate your home with the Easy Living Furniture mid-season sale. Now extended, but only until this Sunday. Discover savings across every department, from sofas and dining collections to bedrooms, mattresses and home accessories. And with free delivery on all orders over £499, creating your dream home has never been easier. But don't wait. The mid-season sale must end this Sunday at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park, Derry, Londonderry.
Do you sometimes struggle to hear? It could just be earwax and it's easily treated. Hidden Hearing right now are offering free earwax removal for everyone over 60, carried out by our qualified earwax technicians. Call 1-800-370-000 or go to hiddenhearing.ie. Hidden Hearing, your hearing is our expertise. T's and C's apply.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McElhenny's. With new season styles arriving daily, discover the latest fashion, footwear and accessories for autumn in store or shop online at mcelhennys.com today.
Not a fantastic night overnight, was it? Lots of rain and lots of wind. Let's see what the weather has in store for us. And I can tell you that today will be cool and breezy with sunny spells and showers with some heavy, and there's a chance of isolated thunderstorms and hail, which means spot flooding is possible. Highest temperatures of 13 to 14 degrees. And I think there's been a weather advisory issued as well. It's a moderate weather warning for rain for Donegal. Spells of heavy rain with a chance of isolated thunderstorms, potential impacts, localised flooding, poor visibility, difficult travelling conditions. It's a yellow rain warning, and it runs from 10 a.m. today until 10 a.m. tomorrow. And as I say, more wet and windy weather coming, particularly on Sunday. I flagged it to you at the start of the week, and it seems to be on track. Right, does anybody know what's going on at Lifford Hospital? There seems to be a lot of activity all of the time. There are workmen day and night. There are lorries and skips there lots of the time. I don't know what's going on there. If anyone has an insight, let us know. It's probably common knowledge in the area. In relation to the defective concrete blocks, I think the government got it all wrong. I think the money should be handed over to the homeowners and they should be allowed to rebuild in whichever way they want. They should be able to downsize. The downsizing suggestion would have been critical. It made it an awful lot more accessible for a lot of people, so they could use the same amount of money to, build a smaller property. Maybe they built a house that was too big and they would welcome a smaller house, easier to heat, etc. Hi, Greg. Using the term plantation is accurate in describing the current mass immigration policy. Facts do not cease to exist because they're ignored, but just using scary words doesn't progress an argument at all. People are prepared. Everyone is prepared to have a conversation about immigration, migration, trying to scare people to progress an agenda. It's simply people are too clever. They're having these conversations themselves, and those words they're emotive and what have you, but they don't strengthen anyone's argument, especially when they're so overused. The general population of this country have various views. They know what they think, and they know what's going on. Is no one chatting about the national debt? Our budget spending has doubled in the last 5 years. Do people not realise that the government is running our country into the ground and creating huge problems for our country down the road? I think we're writing down our national debt to some extent. It is incredibly high, but do people not worry about it? Not really, I think, because they're not too concerned, because they're probably not the ones that are going to have to pick up the bill. That's going to happen down the line. Maybe their grandchildren or something along those lines. Or maybe people are very bothered about it. Good morning, Highland Radio. On the subject of animal welfare, I'm looking after feral cats in a forest 6 miles from where I live. I feed these cats every day and look after their medical needs for the last 15 years, and I'm very happy to do so. I'm a pensioner and sometimes it's hard going, but I still manage to get these animals fed and looked after. Okay, well, there you go. You're doing your bit. Right, we'll be back with so much more after the news and obituary notices.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
All across Ireland, music fills cafes, salons, offices, gyms and restaurants. It creates a vibe, makes people smile. It might even turn a 4-star review into a 5. Music can lift moods, boost sales and improve staff morale. Whether your business plays background radio or a curated playlist, you need a music licence. It ensures music creators are fairly paid for their work. Buy your licence today at imro.ie/pay now, because music drives business.
Your wedding day deserves a setting as breathtaking as your love story. At Harvey's Point in Donegal, say I do on the sparkling shores of Loch Esk, framed by the majestic Blue Stack Mountains. From romantic outdoor ceremonies to elegant receptions in our grand ballroom, every moment is designed with love and delivered with 5-star care. Harvey's Point. Love at first sight. True love forever. Start your journey with a personal viewing. Visit harveyspoint.com. Your forever begins here.
I was in pain for over a year. Once I went to see my GP, he referred me to Kingsbridge. My experience at Kingsbridge was fantastic. Everybody was very friendly. They couldn't do enough for you.
Public patients in the Republic of Ireland can get rapid access to cross-border surgeries at Kingsbridge private hospitals in Belfast and Derry, with medical costs reimbursed by the HSE. Find out more at kingsbridgeprivatehospital.com/cross-border. Kingsbridge, your fast track to 5-star care. Terms and conditions apply.
Ireland's move to a cleaner energy future is happening right beneath your feet. With a gas network that's carrying more renewable gas, that will help your business become more sustainable in a way that works for you. Gas Networks Ireland, moving Ireland's energy.
Hi, Gavin here from Divers Hyundai in Letterkenny to tell you about 2 Grand Tuesday, our one-off used car sale event. This Tuesday, September 16th, all used cars at Divers will have $2,000 off the listed prices online. Yes, $2 grand off every car for one day only. No gimmicks, no games, no joke. That's this coming Tuesday at Divers Hyundai Canal Road, Letterkenny, and we're open 8 to 8 on the day. For details, see diversgarage.ie.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, I'm Michaela Clark with the news at 10 o'clock. The failure of the Housing Agency to attend a meeting of Donegal County Council's Defective Blocks Committee has been criticised by Councillor Declan Meehan, who says the agency has failed to attend 5 out of 9 meetings which took place over the past 12 months. Speaking at yesterday's committee meeting, he stressed the vital role the Housing Agency plays in the implementation of the Defective Concrete Block Scheme, particularly in regard to its responsibility for assessing and in many cases downgrading homeowners' proposed remediation options. Councillor Meehan says the inability to engage with the Housing Agency on a monthly basis severely undermines the committee's work.
The Housing Agency obviously play a very critical role in the administration of the scheme along with Donegal County Council, but also on decision making. So to not have them there does not allow elected representatives of the people trying to get on the scheme, going through the scheme. We're not able to question them and hold them to account.
The Cathaoirleach of Donegal County Council says action must be taken to prevent diffing events taking over towns in the county and instilling fear in local residents. Over the weekend, residents in Calais felt terrorised during a diffing event which saw around 50 cars and 100 spectators descend on the main street of the village. Councillor Paul Canning says there are also serious safety concerns surrounding such events. He says preventative measures need to be taken.
The day will come that somebody will get seriously hurted. So we need to prevent this from happening. The reason that the town of Calais and the town of Bridgend is being targeted, it is so easy for those guys to scoot over the border and then the guards, they're out of jurisdiction. I know we do have ramps in Calais, but maybe we have to look at putting further ramps in Calais or bollards or Middle Islands.
US President Donald Trump says he's filled with grief after the heinous assassination of right-wing influencer Charlie Kirk. A manhunt's underway after he was gunned down at a university event in Utah. The 31-year-old was shot once in the neck while addressing hundreds of students. Greg Swenson, chair of Republicans Abroad UK, says the Conservative community is in shock.
It was really just a shock to everybody, and especially those of us in the Conservative movement. But I think most of the just just sheer insanity of it is the fact that he's left a young wife and 2 young children, and that's just a really just tragic and devastating.
The ISPCA has said that the closure of its Donegal Centre is not related to the proposed merger with the DSPCA. Instead, the organisation says it is a decision taken with regard to its immediate viability. The centre in Ballyar is due to close tomorrow. Donna Marie Doherty has more.
The ISPCA says it has faced a number of serious financial challenges over recent years due to the need to meet an overwhelming crisis in animal cruelty cases and pressure on facilities. Following a review, it was determined that maintaining the facility in Donegal was not financially viable. In a statement, the ISPCA says the closure is not related to the proposed merger with the DSPCA, which the ISPCA says concerns the future viability of their other services. All animals currently housed at the centre will be rehomed at other facilities. The ISPCA has put in place planned redundancies at the facility. The organisation has stressed that an ISPCA inspector will continue to cover the Donegal area.
A status yellow weather warning for rain has been issued for Donegal. Met Éireann is warning of heavy rain with a chance of isolated thunderstorms which may lead to localised flooding, poor visibility and difficult travelling conditions. The alert is in place until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Ishgarn says it is continuing to work to lift a boil water notice in place in Kildare. Following a deterioration in the raw water quality there, the notice was issued in mid-August to protect the health of approximately 1,300 customers on the Kildare public water supply. The utility is continuing to monitor the supply and review the results. People in the locality are urged to boil their water before use until further notice. Inishowen, meanwhile, is experiencing yet another water outage. In recent weeks, there has been a string of water supply disruptions in the peninsula. Repairs are ongoing to repair a burst water main in the Burt area and are scheduled to take place until 4 o'clock this afternoon. This morning's weather today will be cool and breezy with sunny spells and showers, some heavy with the chance of isolated thunderstorms and hail. Spot flooding is possible, highest temperatures of 13 or 14 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with an update again at 11 o'clock. Until then, you can keep up to date with the latest local news on our website highlandradio.com. Good morning. The obituary notice says for this Thursday morning, September the 11th, the death has taken place of Christian McCullough, Beltany, Raphoe, County Donegal. Christian will repose at his late residence, Beltany, Raphoe, County Donegal, tomorrow and Saturday from 12 noon to 10 o'clock, with rosary each night at 9 o'clock. The funeral cortege will leave his late residence on Sunday morning at 10:30, travelling to St Eunan's Church, Raphoe, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. The Mass may be viewed on the Parish of Raphoe webcam. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Irish Kidney Renal Support Centre at Beaumont Hospital or St Vincent de Paul, Raphoe branch, care of any family member or Kelly's funeral directors. The death has occurred of Kieran Lafferty, Liscully, Castlefin, reposing at the family home today from 11 o'clock until 11 o'clock. Funeral from the family home tomorrow morning at 10:30 for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock in St Patrick's Church, Crossroads, Killygordon. Interment afterwards in the adjoining churchyard. Family time, please, on the morning of the funeral. The death has occurred of John Sean Doherty, Tremaine Clomani. John's remains are reposing at the family home. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:30, going to St Mary's Church, Clomani, for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock, with interment afterwards in the new cemetery. Family time only, please, from 10 o'clock until 11 o'clock and on the morning of the funeral. John's funeral mass can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Carndonagh Patients Comfort Fund, care of any family member or McFeely's funeral directors. The death has taken place of Edward Ned Boyd, Brunelach Gidor. Remains reposing at his son Mark's residence in Brunelach to be waked today from 11 o'clock until Rosary at 8 o'clock. House private after Rosary and on the morning of the funeral. Funeral Mass will take place tomorrow in St Columkille's Church, Knockfola, at a time to be confirmed. Burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. And the death has taken place of Jimmy Diver, White House, Glentocher. His remains are reposing at his home. Removal from there tomorrow morning at 10:20 to the Sacred Heart Church, Carndonagh, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. Requiem Mass can be viewed on Carndonagh Parish webcam. Family time please from 10 o'clock tonight and on the morning of the funeral. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Irish Kidney Foundation, care of any family member or Blaine McCarran, Kelly's funeral directors. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Fancy fish tacos tonight? You'll catch some amazing prices at Aldi, that's for sure. The finest Irish breaded haddock goujons are just $2.99. Sour cream at just 89¢. Mixed chilies only 49¢. And 8 mini white tortilla wraps are just 85¢. That's an evening treat at amazing Aldi value, all wrapped up. Good food, good mood from Aldi, while stocks last.
And you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. How's your Thursday going? I do hope it's going well. We're looking forward to an outside broadcast tomorrow. We're heading down to the ATU. There's a very significant conference that's ongoing. We've got influencers, bloggers, whatever they want to call themselves from the travel world. Hundreds of them, hundreds of delegates around the county for a number of days. And we're going to be down getting a sense of what they're thinking, what they think of us, what they think of our county, and so much more besides. That's tomorrow. I'll tell you more about that a little later on in the show. A caller says they're going to offer extra supports to Ukraine, and I'm fuming because my niece has had a child and has had to go back to work without any help with childcare. They should look after Irish citizens first. Where I live, there's nothing, not even a play park for our children. I don't understand it. Well, get on to your local government rep and ask them. We welcome you contacting us, of course, but ultimately that's where the decisions lie. Is there any coincidence that an ex-SPFA leader from Ireland is now the director of the European Fisheries Control Agency that's pushing to bring in new regulations for fishing vessels that are unworkable and set up to catch skippers and vessels on the bycatch of their main catch, sometimes down to kilograms plus or minus over landings of hundreds of tons? This is where you have to guesstimate, isn't it? Really have to guesstimate the makeup of your catch. There is some wiggle room, but it's incredibly tight. A caller says, I wish to say how devastated I am to hear of the closure and loss of jobs at the DSPCA. It'll be a massive loss to our county. It's the ISPCA locally. I mean, they are merging into the national SPSA. My husband's a volunteer there, and I know the work that goes into caring for these animals and the wonderful care they receive under the staff in Balliar. What will happen to these unfortunate animals in the future when we know from social media every day how many animals are rescued? Ourselves and many of our friends support animal welfare and are regularly adopting dogs and cats from there. Why does Dublin always seem to make decisions affecting Donegal? Well, it seems to be, from some information that's been forwarded to me, that they believe that centre is a bit of an outlier and they need something more central. So it looks, as I say, it looks to me like they might be moving a centre to the northwest, taking in Leitrim, North Roscommon, Sligo and Donegal. But as I say, we're going to be speaking to a spokesperson from the ISPCA shortly, and we'll get some of those answers. Hopefully, we certainly will ask the questions. Whether or not we get the answers, that remains to be seen. Don't give up on our trains, Greg. I believed for 25 years and I'll never stop. Don't give in to big car. They buggered us all. Sure, traffic and bypass traffic has killed more towns. Yeah. Okay. But listen, hey, if a train lands, all well and good. All right, it is Thursday, which means it's jackpot day. We have the big Vision Ireland, Highland Radio Bingo jackpot up for grabs. Will it go today? Well, the only way to find out is have a listen to the numbers and see. We'll chat to you in a couple of minutes.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Thursday, the 11th of September, Jackpot Day. You're playing for the jackpot prize of €9,400 on the pink sheet. The reference number is S4. It's game number 37. The jackpot number is 19. This number can come out in any position from the next 10 numbers drawn. And now, here are your daily numbers. 1, 41, 35, 4, 87, 24, 66, 56, 65, and finally 48. Phone your claim to 9104833 before midnight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
When the time comes, the last thing you want is for your family to worry about funeral costs. That's why On Post Insurance offers funeral insurance for those aged 50 to 75. A simple way to help ease the burden for the people you care about most. Take a moment today to plan ahead. Call 0818 22 22 22 or visit onpostinsurance.ie. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. One Direct Ireland Limited, trading as On Post Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. One Direct Ireland Limited is a wholly owned subsidiary of On Post. Funeral insurance is underwritten and provided by New Ireland Assurance Company plc. On Post Insurance is a tied agent of New Ireland Assurance Company plc for life assurance business.
Thunder Rolls, Garth Brooks tribute live at the Villa Rose Hotel on Saturday, October 11th. All Garth's biggest hits, Friends in Low Places, The Thunder Rolls, The Dance, Beaches of Cheyenne, Unanswered Prayers and more in a spectacular 2-hour live band tribute. Tickets €25. Visit villarose.ie and let the thunder roll.
New this week in Home Store and More. All ottomans are all half price. But better hurry, because when all our half price ottomans are gone, they're gone. Also, all bar stools are still all half price, and all mattress toppers are still all 33% off. But when all the half price bar stools and all the 33% off mattress toppers are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More. Visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
08660 25,000 is the WhatsApp and text number, or give us a call on 07491 25,000. Keep the pressure on, Greg. The housing agency are desperate. They cored my house in April. Still no outcome from testing. Told me it can take 10 months. I started this process in September 23. All boxes ticked. God bless the thousands behind me. Another, the Western mainstream media in all Western countries set the news agenda all over the world by highlighting what they want talked about and what they don't want talked about. And there's no point in them telling us anything else. For instance, they could highlight Gaza from morning to night non-stop till something was done about it. Sean Hillen, I wonder, can Sean hear me? Sean, it's Greg here. Good morning to you. Are you picking me up okay?
Yes, Greg. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing good, and thank you so much for joining us. Okay, we're speaking in the context of the shocking news yesterday that US conservative activist Charlie Kirk, an influential ally of President Donald Trump, was fatally shot while speaking at a university, sparking a manhunt for a lone sniper who the governor of Utah said had carried out a political assassination. For those who aren't aware, Charlie Kirk, an incredible, significant part of Donald Trump's election, and to this day, or to yesterday, his team.
Yes, he has risen quickly up the ranks, and he's only 31. He's a millionaire. In just 5 years, the organization he started, called Turning Point USA, has raised about $100 million. He's been involved in conservative far-right politics at a young level for quite a number of years. He wrote a book called, a quite best-selling book called The MAGA Doctrine. And he may even have been in the cabinet office at the White House when Donald Trump was considering potential candidates for senior positions. He also traveled to Greenland with Trump's son when there was all that talk about America basically taking over Greenland. And he was also the youngest speaker at the Republican convention. A very, I think Trump actually called him the rock star of the movement, and other people called him the youth whisperer. And they certainly give him accolades when he referred to Kamala Harris, Trump's Democratic opponent in the presidential elections, when he referred to her as Kamala the communist. So he had a bright future ahead of him within the MAGA movement.
What do you think this means for politics in the United States? Some people believe it's a line that's been crossed. Others think that it could make some difference to things into the future. But listening to Donald Trump's statement, he doubled down, blaming the left, and you know, I didn't hear any words from him that sort of indicated that this is completely unacceptable. Calm is required. I'm not quite sure a line has been crossed at all. It just sounds to me like this is just the way, tragically, politics is going to be in America and wherever next.
Well, it focuses. I have a guest here, actually, Greg, who's from Washington State, and I was speaking to her this morning about it, and she brought up the controversial issue of Second Amendment rights. And of course, Second Amendment rights in the United States means the right to bear arms. And for decades, there's been discussions about regulating the gun holding industry in the United States, with the National Rifle Association being so strong. This fellow, Kirk, supports Second Amendment rights. He doesn't condition people being able to hold guns based upon their registering of the arms or background checks into, whether they're mentally stable. So it's ironic, and words could be used like karma, that someone who supported Second Amendment rights and wasn't conditional on how people could buy guns has now been shot.
I think there's a couple of flaws in that argument. One being that he is on the record having said, condemning anyone being shot, but mass shootings are almost worth the right to carry arms. And secondly, the person that shot him from 200 yards with a scoped sniper rifle, and any changes to Second Amendment rights might not necessarily have kept that gun out of the shooter's hands.
Yeah, one of the problems in the United States is that there's no federal law regulating guns very closely. Some states, for example, New York and California, as I understand, have very strong conditions on who can buy guns and what kind of guns they can buy. But other states are more loose in that respect. And so there has been a lobby, as you know, Greg, to have a federal standard about guns and who can have guns and what kind of guns they can have. And it is ironic that 20 minutes after Kirk was shot, there was that shooting outside Denver yesterday at a school. There have been about 9 school shootings this year alone, I think, in the United States. So it might focus attention on Second Amendment rights and whether it could strengthen the lobby that is for stricter conditions on gun use.
Yeah.
As for politics,
I'm not quite sure. I'll just rephrase that politics question, though. We are in a situation, we see it in this country and others as well, whereby political opponents are not now political opponents, they're political enemies. And some of the conversations you hear from liberals in inverted commas, how they speak of conservatives and vice versa, on mainstream networks, so to speak, the language is incredibly strong, incredibly powerful. I'm just curious if an incident like this might soften that tone. I did reference Trump's comments, which I don't believe did, but this is not going to be a tipping point, is it, on political discord, I doubt?
I think Donald Trump, based on his record, is going to use it to condemn the Democrats and any of his opponents very strongly. So I think, unfortunately, it's going to separate political parties, political views in the United States even more. As we know, there's been very little handshaking across the aisle on any issues between the Democrats and Republicans, and something like this, I think, is so incendiary that it's going to be used by far right wing groups to further their cause. I don't think there's going to be any, unfortunately, I don't think there's going to be any way in which this is going to bring the sides together. I think it's going to be used to further strengthen, an attempt to further strengthen Donald Trump's hold on Congress and Senate.
Yeah, indeed. And, it will be very easily twisted to maybe send in more forces into various cities, claiming this is exactly why we need to do that. Unfortunately, nowadays, everything, even a tragic situation, can be, weaponized or used to progress your own agenda. And that's very possible, if not likely.
Yes, and I think it was Agenda 25 that Project 25 that came out in the airwaves and on the media before the presidential election. And one of the issues in that, as I recall, was that the federal government, in other words, the president, would take more control of city governance. And he has done so in LA, and he's threatening to do so in Chicago. And you're absolutely right, Greg. An incident like this just gives him the wherewithal to go into many cities, and he's particularly handpicking Democrat cities to take over and thus have more control. So you're absolutely right. This gives him some strength to do that in the future, using this as an excuse.
Yeah, it's funny because it actually strengthens the Trump side and weakens the opposition, even if the opposition are being very sympathetic and saying this type of activity shouldn't happen, etc. Okay, Sean, listen, thank you so very much for your time. That's Sean Hillen, who's an international journalist, publisher and author of novel Pretty Ugly. A caller says, just listening to the news this morning, and when describing the death of a young family man, Charlie Kirk, as right-wing, even in a death announcement, it's very sad. So we now officially call anyone who promotes family values and conservative values as right-wing. It's not terminology I would use, but I presume that you would know that he wrote a book himself. Charlie Kirk wrote 2 books, and one of them was called The Right-Wing Revolution. How to Beat the Woke and Save the West. So he himself placed himself very much on the right wing, and he would say, I'm right wing, and then he would refer to others as woke or libs, etc. So it's not the language I would have used, but he himself proudly referred to himself as being right wing. I think maybe if he'd have been described as far right, that's not language he used about himself, then I think you'd have got more into the territory of disrespect. But right wing is not a slur. I did note a few accounts picking up on that on X, perhaps not familiar with his actual book. And I think if you're going to make a commentary, it's always better to be as well researched as possible. But anyway, it's not how I would have framed it. I'll say that for sure. Just one other thing on that story, and I'm sure there's not a massive amount of interest out there, but the FBI very quickly came out yesterday and said that they had a subject of interest in custody, and that information came directly from the head of the FBI, and it wasn't the right guy. And there's going to be some criticism. Wait till you see, maybe even resignations. Because they're going to say, well, were you still looking for the actual perpetrator when you thought you had him in custody? That's just going to be another angle of this story today, tomorrow, or the day after, but it's definitely coming, mark my words. A caller says, I think Tristan before 10 there is over-exaggerating his point. His reference that a father with a high consumption of alcohol or alcohol-related issues will have offspring who will have cardiovascular issues and other complications when they reach the age of 40. My father was a regular drinker and have absolutely no adverse effects. I know several others of similar circumstances with no ill effects. It's not a good idea to over-exaggerate the point if you want to get people on board, but I hope you also noted that I kind of picked up on that myself a little bit, and I did get it clarified that in instances where someone is going to be affected by this, that could happen. It doesn't mean that everyone whose father drank is going to have cardiovascular issues at 40. It's like everyone who smokes doesn't get cancer, if you know what I mean. Half of them might. But so I hope I clarified that a little bit there as well. All right, you tuned to the 9 till noon show here in Highland Radio, 086 60 25,000. That's the WhatsApp and text number. Give us a call too if you prefer, an 07491 25,000.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
If you're aged 59 to 70, we will invite you for a free HSE bowel screening home test. Screening can help find signs of bowel cancer early, before any symptoms show, making it easier to treat.
If you know the beauty and skincare product that suits you best, you'll find them at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. From moisturisers, cleansers and toners to day creams and night creams, McGee's have the top brands you know and love, like Lancôme, Clarins and La Roche-Posay. Also Elizabeth Arden, Vichy, Nukes and many more. All at McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny, and online at mcgees.ie, where the best costs less.
Here, would you look at Eco Enda? He's only after going and getting himself one of the new Skoda EVs.
First he went vegan, then he got solar panels, now this.
Yeah, sure, he'd buy anything as long as he can get a grant for it.
Must be from that county beside Monaghan.
The new fully electric Skoda range. The kind of cars that get the neighbours talking. But only if you're quick. Check availability at skoda.ie. Skoda, let's explore.
Skoda. Your local Skoda dealer is DMG Motors, Clar Road, Donegal Town. Telephone 074 9721396.
If you're ready for a fresh start, Mulrines is recruiting. Mulrines is expanding its team across our Sion Mills and Ballybuffet sites with great opportunities in production, dispatch and engineering. Come along and meet the team at our exclusive recruitment open event on Monday the 15th of September from 2 to 7 at the Fir Trees Hotel Strabane. Details at mulrines.ie.
Country Sundays at the Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny. This Sunday, don't miss Robert Mazzell and his band. Dancing from 9 till 11, admission €20. Doors open from 8 and there's early dancing from 8:15 with the Moonshiners. There's also music afterwards in McGettigan's Bar. That's Robert Mazzell this Sunday at the Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny.
Don't delay when you get your bowel screening invitation. Call us today on 1-800 45 45 55 or visit bowelscreen.ie. From the HSE.
And you're very welcome back to the programme. Very pleased to welcome onto it Pete Wedderburn, who's vet and chair of the ISPCA. Good morning, Pete. Thank you so much for your time.
No problem at all. Good to see you. Good
right,
to talk to you.
Pete, why is the centre in Letterkenny closing?
Unfortunately, it's a financial decision, and it's one that we really didn't want to have to make. I've been the chair of the ISPCA for a year now, and when I became chair, it was very obvious that the way the ISPCA was going, we weren't managing financially as we should be. What I mean by that is that after COVID, there was a real surge in animals being surrendered and animals being seized by our team of inspectors because they had to be rescued and cared for. And we had a choice at that stage, and I'm talking about 2 to 3 years ago. We could either turn animals away and say, no, we just can't do this, or we could put the staff and systems in place to look after those animals. And we decided to do the latter. And that was all good, except that it meant that it put an increasing financial pressure on us. And we, of course, hoped that we would be able to do enough fundraising to remedy that financial issue, but it just wasn't happening. So by the end of last year, at our AGM in November last year, I made it very clear to everybody that we would have to make very significant changes in order for us to continue as an organisation, and that the number one important thing was that we carried on doing our work across the country to the best of our ability, and we would have been at risk of everything coming to a halt if we didn't take significant financial decisions. And so we started to look at the start of the year. We began to look at how we would remedy the situation. We run 4 centres as the ISPCA: Donegal, Longford, Mallow in Cork, and Wicklow. And they would make up the majority of our costs. And because we had to make a very significant financial adjustment, it became increasingly clear that closing one of those centres was the difficult but necessary decision that we would have to make.
Was Donegal the centre that was losing most money or the most expensive to run?
No, it was quite. It was the one which is the smaller centre, and that meant that although it was small, it still cost a very significant amount of money to run. But because it was the smaller one and the newer one, it meant that it was, I suppose, from an organisation and from a national perspective, it was the least painful one to close.
So are you saying it had the least animal throughput, if I could put it like that? Was it the least busy?
I wouldn't even put it like that. It was the one where we could we had to cut an amount of money, and cutting Donegal was the smallest one.
Yeah, but I'm asking for the criteria. So was it the most expensive to run? You said no, and I'm asking then, was it the one then that dealt with the least amount of animals? The word busy is the only one I can find, but I'm trying to figure out the criteria.
Yes, it would be the one that it was a smaller one, like I said to you. So it would, although it's doing very, very important work, compared to the other centres, it wasn't doing as much work, and cutting it would be, as I said, it'd be painful. We wouldn't save as much money as we would save by closing one of the other centres, but we would save enough money in order to remedy our financial situation, and that's what we were obliged to do. We wish we didn't have to do that, but that's what we were obliged to do.
Was there any attempt to engage in the public to try and narrow that gap? Because I don't recall anyone saying that the closure was on the cards. You know, the people of the Northwest can be very generous. Was there any engagement with the public to say, look, this is a probability, you're very generous, but we're asking now, there's a 6-month window or something along those lines to try and make it more viable to keep this centre open? Were any efforts made in that regard?
Yeah, well, the ISPCA regularly has appeals, and last year we had an emergency appeal to try to remedy the situation. If you see our social media pages, we are absolutely ongoing asking the public to help us, because we do get some government funding, but the government funding isn't nearly enough to keep the organisation afloat. So we depend on the public for donations, and so it's always possible to do more of fundraising. But we have a team of fundraisers, and that's what their job is. And we did everything that we could do to try to fix things, but unfortunately, it's not the case.
And what happens as far as the ISPA is concerned now with the animals in Balliar and animals that would have availed of that space going forward? What happens to those animals now?
Well, the animals that were there have been transferred to the National Animal Centre in Longford, and so they're all going to be looked after just as they were, and they're all going to be okay. The work of the ISPCA will continue in Donegal through our inspector, our Donegal inspector, and he'll carry on doing exactly the work that he's been doing. But instead of being able to take animals to the Donegal centre, he'll have to take them to one of our other centres, and that's a complexity that's not what we'd like, but that's what it is. And also there's still a national animal helpline that people can call at any time to contact the ISPCA if they come across a situation where they find an animal that's in distress.
So you have capacity in the other centres to absorb any animals that would require care in Donegal?
We do now. Now, going back 2 to 3 years, we were absolutely to capacity, and we couldn't take in more animals. There was such a huge issue with animals needing looked after. That situation is somewhat resolved now. It's a little bit better, so we do have space now to do that.
Okay, and so the costs then associated with running this centre in, obviously, the spend on animals, if you're going to absorb them into other centres, that doesn't count. Is it light? rates, wages? What costs are you saving?
If you look at the cost of running a centre, it is all of those things. It's the establishment costs, if you like. Heating, electricity, rates, everything to do with keeping a building going. Just like your family home, all of those ongoing costs. And as well as that, you've got the cost of the staff day to day, and then you've got the cost of the animals, like feeding them, carrying them, veterinary costs.
As I say, those costs will still, if you do take animals to other centres, those costs don't count. Is there any plans or intentions or wishes to establish a ISPCA centre or a national SPCA centre in the Northwest in a more central area? Because I'm not sure if it were you, but I do know views were expressed. In fact, I believe it were you. Views were expressed at a recent meeting stating that Donegal was too far away from the likes of Sligo and Leitrim. So is this really the beginning of a move to establish another centre more centrally in the Northwest?
Well, you just touched on there the national SPCA, because that's the other thing, the big sort of remedy which is coming into place, which is that for years in Ireland there's been two big animal welfare organisations, each having around 70 employees, each with a similar type of turnover and so on. There was the DSPCA in Dublin, and then the ISPCA around the rest of the country. And so the other, and when you look at the Charity Governance Code, which talks about how charities are meant to look after themselves and to organise things, the Charity Governance Code very clearly says that we have to regularly talk to other charities with similar aims and objectives as ourselves and see what we can do to work with them right through to the possibility of merging with them. That's in the Charity Governance Code. So when I became chair a year ago, I looked at that code and I thought, well, why aren't we talking to the DSPCA, who are very similar to ourselves in their aims and objectives? So we talked to them then over the following, well, we have talked them through the last year, and it turns out that they also can recognise that we can work much better together. For example, they run a Dublin animal helpline.
Well, what's the connection between that and the Donegal closure? Sorry.
There's no connection whatsoever, except that you said somebody posted a video from a private meeting that was discussing the future, and one of the things that came up. So what is happening is that the ISPCA and the DSPCA, they hope to form a new national organisation together. Now this is in the future. So as part of forming a new national organisation, the intention is that we'll develop and progress a national network of centres looking after animals. Now, currently, you see, there's a big gap on the west coast. Like as I said, our centres are Longford, Mallow, Wicklow, Dublin will be for the national one, and you can see obviously there's a gap there. So the longer term plan for the national organisation will be to see, well, how can we best service the animals in the northwest, and where that will be exactly is something which is for the future organisation to look at.
So why can't it be in Donegal?
Well, maybe it can be, but that's for the future organisation to look at, and that's, the centre is a wonderful centre, but the centre takes.
Well, might I ask? Sorry, Pete, can I ask then why close? It makes no sense then. Why close Donegal now? Why not wait until the merger has happened and then allow the new body to decide? The best way to deliver services for the entire region. Why close this now ahead of the merger?
Because, well, the ISPCA, from the start of this year, we've been obligated to put our financial situation at a level which is sustainable, and it has not been sustainable as it was. We had to take corrective action. And this isn't a new thing. We've been working on this all year. It's been very difficult. I found it very hard because we haven't been able to be very public about this, because we're very aware of the sensitivity when people's jobs are involved. And we couldn't make public statements about what we're thinking of doing. We couldn't do because we hadn't talked to the employees.
But there was no motivation, was there? And there's not a loaded question. There was no motivation that it would be less expensive to get rid of these staff now than it might be after a merger.
No, it makes no difference at all it would make no difference at all to it. The staff are being the staff who have to be made redundant, unfortunately, they're being given all of everything that they're due. You know, it's when somebody's made redundant, they have certain rights and employees have certain obligations, and we're fulfilling those just the same way as any other organisation would do. It makes no difference whatsoever to that. What's important is that the ISPCA, it has to be financially sustainable on its own right, and that's what we're in the process. That's why we're doing this. We have to create our own finances.
Okay, I won't keep you very much longer. How was the Balliol property acquired by the ISPCA, and is it under the ISPCA ownership? How did you come to own that land and building?
So that's a complex situation that goes back about 20 years. And what happened was there was a Donegal artist who worked very closely with a lady who was involved in the old Donegal SPCA. The old Donegal SPCA used to do a lot of work with horses and donkeys, and this artist was very keen on that work, so she funded the old Donegal SPCA. And then when the lady who ran the old Donegal SPCA, when she passed away, she gave the funds from those bequests to the Donkey Sanctuary in Cork. The Donkey Sanctuary in Cork couldn't accept the funds because it wasn't a charity, didn't have charitable status in Ireland. So the charity regulator made the decision to give the money to the ISPCA. And then what happened was the ISPCA, at the time, the board then, they set up a branch in Donegal with the express purpose of spending the money from the bequest on building a centre, and that's what happened. And then when that was finished, then the old that Donegal SPCA that then became deregistered as a charity. You see, the problem was the Donegal SPCA at that stage was it had the money from the artist originally. It had that money, but it didn't have ongoing money, the high cost, the high levels of funding that are needed to run a centre. And so they then they passed the centre onto the ISPCA and asked the ISPCA to run it. And we too have found a great deal of difficulty in getting the funding for running it. So that's the challenge.
The asset is in the ownership of the ISPCA. Now, what is the intentions? Is it to sell it?
So as I've said to you, the ISPCA will be merging with the DSPCA to form a new national organisation called the NSPCA Ireland. So the centre will go into the possession of NSPCA Ireland, and its future use then will be decided by NSPCA Ireland.
Selling it is obviously an option then, because if the...
I honestly, I don't know what would be planned for it. I think it's a lovely centre, and everybody would understand that its intention was to help the animals of Donegal, and that's very much will be borne in mind by the people who are deciding, what its future use is.
So you're saying that you're saying that if it is to be sold, it would be sold with a view to providing care for animals.
Of course.
So it won't be sold. It can't be sold to a developer or for housing or for an agricultural shed. It will only be sold if it is.
I think it's wrong to talk about it being sold.
Well, it's not wrong. It's not wrong actually, because the people of Donegal have a very, very big stake in this, and it was passed over. It was passed over to the ISPCA in very good faith, with a lot of money spent with a view to caring for animals. So the people of Donegal have a very, very, very strong interest in what happens to this building going forward, because we're already losing a service.
Well, I understand that, but what I'm saying is that it's wrong to say, well, when it's sold such and such, because the thing is, it will belong to the NSPCA, and the decision will be made how it will be used. But that decision is, that's for future months.
It feels to me like it gets sold to fund a more centrally located centre on the West Coast. That's what it feels like is going to happen, and I'll clip this clip for when that eventually does happen.
Yeah. No, well, I think that's you're jumping way ahead there, because basically what has to happen is the NSPCA has to organise caring for animals across the whole country. The Northwest is very important and will be looked after, but how that is done exactly is something that will be worked out with time.
Okay. Thanks for your time. I do appreciate it. We'll find out as we move forward. Look after yourself, Pete. Thank you. Take care. That is Pete Wedderburn, vet and chair of the ISPCA.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
And we're back. Whether it's back to school, back to college, or getting back into the groove, discover Centra Simple Savers with great offers. Like Yoplait Petit Flu Big Pots 4-pack, $1.50 each. Selected Nature Valley Protein Bars 4-pack, $2.50 each. And selected Kellogg cereals, €3 each. Centra. Live every day.
Free inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal, your essential guide to the ploughing 2025. Our bumper 80-page supplement has everything you need: exhibitor listings, site map, event programs, and where to park. Don't miss your free guide to the ploughing 2025, only inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
The Rent-A-Room Relief Scheme is currently available, and you could earn up to €14,000 a year tax-free by renting rooms in your home to students. This scheme is open to everyone, and it won't affect your payments if you're in receipt of social welfare support. Find out more at gov.ie/room for a student, an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
Host your next corporate meeting or event at Century Complex in Letterkenny. With 4 high-tech function rooms, we've got the perfect space for every group size and need. Professional, flexible and fully equipped, all under one roof. Call Century Complex on 07491 21976 today for more information or to make a booking.
Hi, Gavin here from Divers Hyundai in Letterkenny to tell you about 2 Grand Tuesday, our one-off used car sale event. This Tuesday, September 16th, all used cars at Divers will have $2,000 off the listed prices online. Yes, $2 grand off every car for one day only. No gimmicks, no games, no joke. That's this coming Tuesday at Divers Hyundai Canal Road, Letterkenny, and we're open 8 to 8 on the day. For details, see diversgarage.ie.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McElhenny's. With new season styles arriving daily, discover the latest fashion, footwear and accessories for autumn in store or shop online at mcelhennys.com today.
Okay, so, oh my word, I don't have the weather forecast open. It is not fantastic, it has to be said, unless you like the weather. And hey, we need the water. We do need the water. Today will be cool and breezy with sunny spells and showers. Some heavy with a chance of isolated thunderstorms and hail. Spot flooding is possible. Highest temperatures 13 to 15 degrees with moderate to fresh gusty southwest winds. You might hear a rumble of thunder or see a crack of lightning in the south of the county. And there is a yellow rain warning, a moderate warning that is, for rain between now and 10 a.m. Tomorrow. So just keep that in mind if you're out and about in the roads. A lot of the drains and, escape routes for water are going to be tested over the next wee while. A caller says, I fully agree with Katrina's hairdressing in Letterkenny who were complaining about e-scooters. I'm terrified of them, and we see them daily here on our footpaths in Buncrana. Why are they allowed to continue without wearing helmets and without bells to alert people? Beggars believe it's downright scandalous. They are allowed. They don't have to wear helmets, but they have to get off the footpaths. They've no businesses being on the footpaths at all. New regulations came out as it relates to the use of e-scooters, and they have to be used as bikes are used. And that means on the road, you can't sit down, you can't carry passengers, you don't have to wear a helmet. That's just a by-the-by of the rules of the road here in Ireland. But they shouldn't be on the footpath, and there seems to be very little discouragement of using them on footpaths. Personally, I wouldn't use one on the road, which means I won't use one at all because they seem incredibly vulnerable and they're tiny. Because of the way people are standing on them, they're actually about half the width of a bike, so I think they're even more dangerous than a push bike. But they shouldn't be on the footpaths. Report it to the guards. And that sounds like I'm being very sort of authoritarian. I don't mean it to be like that, but it's only a matter of time before we get another story of someone stepping out of a business and being cleaned out of it on a scooter, and that could obviously be very, very serious injury, or even worse. They can travel at quite the speed. But maybe that's just a few of us have that issue. It's not like the phones are ringing off the hook with people worried about scooters. If you have anything to say on that matter, of course, 086 60 25,000. A caller says, an appeal was made last year through social media to keep the ISPCA centre in Donegal going. Not everyone's on social media during the campaign. It wasn't stressed that the centre was in Donegal. But also if it were me, and maybe they did, you need to get the politicians involved. The government needs to maybe make more funding available. They provide some money. The rest is through fundraising. I think it's a political issue that Donegal is losing its animal welfare centre. And I think politicians should be involved in that. Let's not forget, through all of this conversation, Charlie McConalogue was the Department of Agriculture. Is this under the auspices of that? I don't know. I do know, though, that the issue is going to be raised by Pierce Doherty. He's been made aware of this, and he says he's bringing the issue up. But it all feels too little, too late, but we shall see. Why don't they get a permit for street collection all over the county for a Friday and Saturday to keep the place running until the merger? Yeah. But as I say, there was conversations happening in Zoom meetings suggesting that they don't think Donegal's the right place to cover the west coast of Ireland. And, that has to be, that's the elephant in the room. That has to be talked about too. And were people in Donegal ever given the chance to fundraise to run the centre? I'm not familiar with that, to be honest with you. Right, we've a brief moment to talk about a big event for Aintu. Delegates from Donegal will join their Aintu colleagues for the party's annual national think-in next Saturday. Fine Gael's has been ongoing. Other parties are coming up as well. Rebecca McDade is chair of Aintu Donegal. Rebecca, what's on the cards for Saturday the 13th?
Morning, Greg. How are you?
Good morning.
Well, this is our opportunity every year where we all gather as a party. And it's great because it gives us the opportunity to be able to talk about our strategies going forward and to gather in as a party and as a group. So it's a fantastic opportunity for us.
How do you feel the party is in terms of its growth? In terms of publicity, obviously the party leader has got a great deal of exposure, I think, anyway, nationally. And there has been growth in terms of representation, elected representation, but there does seem to be a bit of a glass ceiling. The party's hidden its head off in terms of, popular support in opinion polls. Do you think you're on the right track, or does the party need to evolve further to sort of try and build on the successes already?
Yeah, well, I think that's the whole point. We're building on the successes we've had already. And I suppose with every party and any up and coming party, we're in that position where we're constantly building. We have people that have joined us who have been members of other parties previously. There are people out there who feel like they're in no man's land, that they don't feel like they don't know who to vote for, and we hear that constantly. So they have had the opportunity to find out what Aintu is about. We only narrowly missed out on securing more council seats there in the last election. So we would have had a lot more representation at council level. And we want accountability from our government. So I think that the people are understanding now what Aintu's position is. They understand that we are growing, and they understand that we are here for the long haul.
What do you see as the core principles of the party then?
Our core principles are the life, unity and economic justice. That's what it is. We believe in preserving life and giving people quality of living. We want a unity which is not just about a united Ireland, but we've got to live together in this country. And we all have to find a common ground. Economic justice speaks for itself. We need to put our country to be in a position now, and our people to have peace whenever they are going out to work, that they will have money in their pocket. And sadly, that is diminishing with every tax cut that they're being given all the time. It's never ending. And it feels like we just don't even know when the next tax charge is going to come out of.
Okay, so that is, where is it taking place actually? It's on Saturday,
It's going to be in the Glenroyal in Maynooth. And it's going to be a fantastic opportunity for us all. So we need the people to understand that we are constantly growing. We are here for the long haul. We are taking our new members. We're in a position where we are happily to speak to everybody, regardless of what your party politics have been and whether you have never been involved in politics. And we appeal especially to the young people. We want them involved because our young people are the future of Ireland. And as much as we need to hold on to them, and we have lost so many abroad, but we need to hold on to our Irish people and our young people here in Ireland, and they are going to be the future of Ireland.
Okay.
So we need their input and we need their opinions.
Thank you very much for your time, Rebecca. That's Rebecca McDade, Chair of Aintu Donegal, talking ahead of the party's annual thinking next Saturday, the 13th of September. They have 3 members in the Dáil at the moment, 8 county councillors, but I just wonder where they're going to build on that. It'll be interesting to watch on.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
The 9 till noon show is coming live this Friday from the TBEX conference at the ATU in Letterkenny. Join us to find out more about some of the world's top bloggers and content creators in association with Go Visit Letterkenny at the heart of Donegal.
Elevate your home with the Easy Living Furniture mid-season sale. Now extended, but only until this Sunday. Discover savings across every department, from sofas and dining collections to bedrooms, mattresses and home accessories. And with free delivery on all orders over £499, creating your dream home has never been easier. But don't wait. The mid-season sale must end this Sunday at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park, Derry, Londonderry.
Free inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal, your essential guide to the ploughing 2025. Our bumper 80-page supplement has everything you need: exhibitor listings, site map, event programmes and where to park. Don't miss your free guide to the ploughing 2025, only inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
Get ready for the Donegal League at Brian McCormick Sports. BMC teamwear, mitre training or match balls. View the value packs online at bmcsports.ie. Training equipment, water bottles, have them delivered or call in store. Brian McCormick Sports, sponsor of Donegal League Premier Division.
Earn as you go with our PTSB Explore current account. Earn up to €5 cashback a month as you pay with your card, and up to 5% cashback when you pay bills with our partners. For a banking experience that means more for you, apply in-app and start earning today. PTSB. Altogether more human. Qualifying criteria, terms and conditions apply. 5 cent back on card purchases up to €5 per month. Bills paid by direct debit required. Account partners and benefits are subject to change. €8 monthly maintenance fee applies. Other charges may apply. Over 18 personal customers only. E-statements only. Permanent TSB PLC trading as PTSB is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
Yes, indeed. And we're heading into the last hour of today's show with the news update at 11 o'clock. And it's a very good morning once again to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The failure of the Housing Agency to attend a meeting of Donegal County Council's Defective Blocks Committee has been criticised by Councillor Declan Meehan, the Deputy Chair of the committee, who says the agency has failed to attend 5 out of 9 meetings which took place over the past 12 months. Speaking at yesterday's committee meeting, he stressed the vital role the Housing Agency plays in the implementation of the Defective Concrete Block Scheme, particularly in regard to its responsibility for assessing and in many cases downgrading homeowners' proposed remediation options. The future of the Donegal ISPCA building in Ballyar remains uncertain. The organisation says the closure of the centre is not related to the proposed merger with the DSPCA, but rather a decision based on it no longer being financially viable. A demonstration organised by Donegal SPCA will take place outside the centre at 2:30 this afternoon ahead of its closure tomorrow. Pete Widderburn, who is one of the ISPCA Board of Directors, has confirmed that the ownership of the Donegal ISPCA Centre will move to NSPCA Ireland, but plans for it have yet to be confirmed. The Cathaoirleach of Donegal County Council says action must be taken to prevent diffing events taking over towns in the county and instilling fear in local residents. Over the weekend, residents in Calais felt terrorised during a diffing event which saw around 50 cars and 100 spectators descend on the village. Councillor Paul Canning says there are also serious safety concerns surrounding such events. US President Donald Trump says he's filled with grief after the heinous assassination of right-wing influencer Charlie Kirk. A manhunt's underway after he was gunned down at a university event in Utah. The 31-year-old was shot once in the neck while addressing hundreds of students. A Stanish yellow weather warning for rain has been issued for Donegal. Met Éireann is warning of heavy rain with the chance of isolated thunderstorms which may lead to localised flooding, poor visibility and difficult travelling conditions. The alert is in place until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. And Uisce Éireann says it is continuing to work to lift a boil water notice in Kildare. Following a deterioration in the raw water quality, the notice was issued in mid-August to protect the health of around 1,300 customers on the Kildare public water supply. Meanwhile, Inishowen is experiencing yet another water outage. In recent weeks, there has been a string of water supply disruptions in the peninsula. Repairs are ongoing to repair a burst water main in the Burt area and are scheduled to take place until 4 o'clock this afternoon. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
Thanks, Michaela.
Tá fistruchan bunithe inis cheadanú starúil agus úsáid valproate sodium I measc ban atá an ís cluine. Is féidir le valproate sodium dochar dhéanamh don étas le linn turchais, ach tá sé éfachtach an titimus agus neamhhard défolach a chóráil. Ná stoppa ghlacha gan labhart le do armi cuaram sláinte. Sa chás go bhfuair tusa nó báil taileí diagnóis neamhhard FVS bhfuil clustal wets. Téigh svinquiry.ie, Tunscnibh de chud rialtas na hÉireann.
Now, the phone lines, the voting lines are open now for the Highland Radio Customer Services Awards. So if we have the shortlist up there as well too, and some of the you will have seen anyway all over the place. Some of the businesses, all the businesses are promoting online on social media and what have you, looking for your votes. So if you can get onto our website, the shortlists are up there, and vote for your favourite businesses ahead of a big night we have coming up towards the start of October. I'll tell you more of that in a more concise manner in a moment. Thank you very much for raising the issue of the Animal Centre in Letterkenny. Please keep highlighting it. It's not too late for you to get pressure on to ensure that the centre is offered to a local rescue. It's also crucial that you get an answer with regards to how this merger will affect legacies and bequests. Now, I don't know what the story is in that regard, to be honest with you, and we will keep on it. I'm only getting my head around the story in its entirety now because it was covered when I was away, and the bits and bobs of information, it just wasn't clear to me. I have a clear understanding of it now, and we'll be able to pursue that moving forward. The Animal Centre is closing down in Ballyar. I'm devastated to hear this. Denise, the manager, has put an immense amount of work in over the years. I'm just devastated, and all the volunteering and work has gone in will stop. That comes in from Grace Gallagher. So it is going to be raised in the not too distant future, we're being told. Right, in studio with me now, Paul McLaughlin of Ballochdur Garden Centre. Paul, how are you?
Not so bad, Greg.
Good to have you in. Any crack?
No, nothing very much. Just took me about 10 minutes to get in here because it was the big shower right there. I couldn't even get out of the car.
Brutal, isn't it? But probably much needed, this deluge.
Yes, absolutely. I do no harm. Once it knows when to stop now, I'll be happy enough.
Everyone wants it to stop at a different time. No one wanted it to start, or some did want it to start. It's just a funny old one here. Right, what have you brought in with you?
I brought a few bulbs there. So I have now is perfect time for spring bulbs.
So Galanthus?
Galanthus, yeah, snowdrops.
What shall I do with them? Where do I plant these?
Plant them in your garden or in a pot even.
Even now?
Yeah, pretty much now, and they'll come up sort of January, February time.
So you won't see any shoots for...
About Christmas time, right? You should start seeing shoots. But I brought a few different things there. They're the two big ones everybody wants at the minute. Is the snowdrops and bluebells.
Okay, they're bluebells. What's the official...
That's
Hispanica blue.
Hispanica blue is the what I call. They're Spanish bluebells.
Okay, and pots are outdoors as well.
Pots are outdoors, exactly. Bulbs are actually great for a thing in the sense that even if you're tight for space, they're perfect in a bulb actually. And there's a thing called a bulb lasagna where you can actually plant loads of different layers of bulbs in a pot.
Okay,
and then they'll flower at different times, so you can have your pot going from like January right up to about April, May.
The parrot prince tulipa.
Yes, actually, I brought them once because I actually see the daffodils beside you there as well.
I'm not too bothered about daffodils.
See, these are special daffodils.
Ooh, they've got little pink middles.
They're pink, exactly. Okay. A lot of people now are breeding away at
the mini
bulbs
pink
and
pride.
Stuff. So the thing about the bulbs is you have much more colours available now than used to be. Like used to be the yellow daffodil basically, but now they're breeding them so you have pink daffodils and stuff together.
All right, okay, but all the same rules apply. Plant these will pop up.
Yeah,
or depending on the weather, start of next year.
Generally, your crocuses, snowdrops should be up January. Then once you move into March or so, you should be into your daffodils, and then April tulips, then May for alliums. So you have a right up to the first
Are you
half of the
taking
year.
these away with you again?
No. You can have them, or you can distribute them.
No, I can't distribute them.
No.
So I just plant these.
Plant them.
How deep?
Generally, rule of thumb with a bulb is the depth of the bulb. You plant it twice as deep.
Okay.
So you do, or actually two depths of the bulb, and then you plant the bulb. So daffodils obviously a bigger bulb, so he goes a wee bit deeper.
What kind of ground do they need to go into?
Generally, any ground's perfect as long as it's not waterlogged over the winter.
Yeah, okay.
So
I know where they're going. And the reason I'm taking these is not because I'm greedy. I'm going to plant them and then we'll see what happens in the spring.
Yes. The two big problems with them, one would be waterlogged soil, can sort of rot them over thing, and the other thing is badgers actually are mad about them. They would dig them up if you had a badger in the area.
A lot of badgers on the side of the roads this weather.
Yes, funny, the one just above the garden centre there, so the last day actually.
I mean, I don't know if they need to be shifted or if it's nature or what have you. But they're big bony things, you know about it if you hit one.
Funny actually, I was saying the one line down the road there was a badger line there and there was a bit of a bumper beside it. So I'd say whoever had it knew they had it.
They are solid, there's no doubt about that. Right, let's see. Shall we get into... have we touched on most of the stuff now we should be doing at this time of year? We're still in that window. Has the sort of winter bedding...
Winter bedding is available now, all right.
All right,
so there's like your cyclamens, your even your pansies, that sort of stuff is all available from now. A lot of people's pots are getting a wee bit tired looking. Even a day like today with the heavy rain will sort of finish them off almost, if you know what I mean. Though most, like a lot of them are still going on quite well. Yeah. But if they were looking a bit dodgy, like they could finish them. So.
And in terms of it, take the summer stuff out, maybe reinvigorate the soil plant.
Yes,
is that it?
Pretty much exactly. Or if say half your pot is still looking grand, that's how I'd sort of supplement it now, and then as it dies off you can sort of add in more as you go along. So may not suit everybody, but it's always an option just to keep the thing rolling on.
Yeah, and as I always point out too, often people might think that this is a piece about people with massive gardens and lawns, but you could live in an upstairs apartment with a little balcony, your windowsill. There's a load of places you can bring in a bit of light and colour and life. You don't always have to be blessed with a big back or front garden.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Even the amount of people can incorporate into a balcony, that can actually put on an amazing display. So they can. And even for stuff like growing food, like even growing herbs or stuff. Yeah. Like even you had a balcony, it's perfect. It's always, they reckon indoors is good to have a few plants get on for just purifying air and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. I think so. And I think it either consciously or subconsciously lifts or can lift the mood. We're going to get, and we always do get questions about lawns. So are we in a bit of purgatory at the moment with lawns, or is there anything specific to this time of year we need to be doing? Obviously, it's going to be very wet for the next while.
Yes, pretty much. I would say at this stage, just kind of cut your lawn when you can, as much as anything else, whenever it is dry enough. A lot of people go out, you'd be tempted if it's looking scruffy, go out and in your heart it's too wet. And a lot of the time with the lawnmower, you're tramping it and everything else. Well, you're not actually doing any good, if you know what I mean. So pretty much let it dry out a bit. Cut it when you can, and if you have a lot of moss, you can still scarify. Pretty much through this month, you can still scarify to remove the moss. And going forward into the winter, as the leaves start to come down, it'd be a good idea just keep them clear, because it sort of prevents moss for next year.
There's no rule of thumb when your last cut is there? I mean, it's going to depend on the weather over the next wee while, but also growth, the condition of your lawn, etc.
Yes, exactly. You can get growth right up into October, like on into almost Halloween. So if you get to that stage, just probably leave the blades a wee bit higher.
Well, do you like to leave a bit of grass on the lawn over the winter? How
yes,
much?
I would leave a fair wee bit, you know.
Yeah.
So would
that doesn't promote dampness though.
It's sort of 6 of 1, to be honest. Sometimes if you cut it too short, it can be more susceptible to frost and stuff.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Okay.
So I would tend to leave it a wee bit long, not too long.
The one thing I always found with the grass is that even if it looks rough, you know, the start of next year or heading to the spring, a few cuts in, it normally bounces back.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
You know,
after the first cut, it always looks kind of scalped, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Or patchy, because some parts grew longer than others, if you know what I mean.
Planting lawns now.
Yeah, lawns.
People are doing that now, are they?
Yes, September's perfect time because you get.
What's the logic for that again? You don't want it to be. There's a logic. Why?
Yeah,
It seems illogical, but it's
basically to
plenty
actually
moisture.
to get the job done. It's harder to get the soil leveled because it's just wetter, basically. But summertime grass struggles to germinate because it's just too dry. So now this time of year you should have the perfect level of moisture.
Yeah.
And a lot of times if you sow out new lawn, you see a lot of weeds come up with it. Just naturally come out of the soil. Thing called red shanks especially comes up, but doesn't happen as much in September.
Yeah.
Because it's just kind of too cold.
It's not their natural time.
The grass will germinate, but the red shanks won't. So you have a cleaner looking job.
I remember the excitement of well, it was a field that it wasn't really a lawn, it was a field though, but the soil was quite good, and you know, got it flattened, and it was so exciting seeing the.
You can see
it was just rushes beforehand for like 15 years, and just to see this grass coming through.
You can see the wee green haze almost in the first few days.
Like such a lovely thing. Gregory, one of the best flowers to plant for honeybees in Donegal is borage. It replenishes its nectar continuously, so gives them a continuous nectar supply while it is in bloom. True or false?
100% true. So it is. Borage is a brilliant plant. So it is. It's a herb actually, but it's a Mediterranean plant. Has been about for obviously a long time. Like, brilliant plant, self seeds, and actually produces a huge amount of seed. So, like, say you had a big banking or something to cover, started off at one side and it eventually will go across. And it's a good seed for trading, if you know what I mean, because a lot of people, it produces so much seed, a lot of people would pass them on to you and stuff like that. So, I remember another thing about it there was they used to give it to Roman soldiers before battles for courage.
Okay.
So they did, so put it in through wine. So I know there's some sort of effects like that.
All right, brilliant. Oh, I had you tomatoes, by the way.
Oh, did
delicious,
you?
Yeah, and far more. I did share those. You could really tell the difference between the shop bought ones.
Yes, no.
And the shop bought ones are lovely. Don't get me wrong, but you could actually tell there was.
Yes, now the homegrown.
Yeah.
Definitely
Just in case you think you bring things in and they're disregarded.
Yes,
No, they was lovely. I did pick two of the nicest ones.
Right, very good.
They didn't last a day at home. They were straight down the swallow. They're fruit, really, if the truth be told.
Yes, sir.
Aren't they?
Yeah, it's, they have seeds inside. So that's what makes them a fruit.
All right. Ask Paul, now that it's time to empty the old flower pots, does he recommend putting in completely new soil, or is it okay to have save some of the old stuff? Thank you kindly. We kind of talked about this, I think, the last time, Graham, but no harm reiterating.
Yes, generally it goes with the size of the pot. If it's quite a large pot, I would leave a third behind. But if it's quite a small pot, I would replace the whole thing. It's just to do, like say you want your flowers to perform well, so plenty of nutrition.
What percentage of the pot would you put a bit of gravel or stone into the bottom of?
Generally maybe up to 20%.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, but once again, depends on the size of the pot.
Yeah.
But
Well, 20% is going to be the same no matter the size.
But once you get to a certain...
And I left school at 14.
But now,
I know what you mean.
Once you get to a certain sort of, not a very big pot, I would tend to leave out the gravel, especially if the drainage holes are quite big.
Of course. I put too much poultry manure pellets around the bottom of my cherry blossom tree, and the leaves have turned brown. It's burnt the roots, I'm told. How do we revive it?
How do you revive it? It'd be
Is that possible?
It's possible, but it'd be rare. You'd need to use quite a lot to actually really sort of poison a plant almost. In terms of a remedy, what happens there is too much nitrogen hitting the plant at once can actually draw the moisture out of the roots. So, and that's what's causing it to turn brown. So remove the excess. If there's still sort of poultry manure visible, remove the excess, but really drench the area in water. It'll both wash away sort of the remnants, and it'll actually rehydrate the roots.
Get the benefit.
You'll
get a benefit.
And the cherry tree, sort of this time of year, it's going to be sort of losing out anyway, like losing the leaves. So it is. So if it's losing the leaves at this stage, you would be hopeful that it will regenerate next year.
We're in conversation with Paul McLaughlin of Ballochdur Garden Centre. There possibly is still time for you to get your questions in. I have to take a very short break. We'll be back to get through those that we have already. But as I say, if there's a quickie, you can send it to us on our social media if you're watching, or call us or WhatsApp the station. Back with Paul after these.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio. The 9 till Noon Show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
At Blue Poppy Dentistry and Orthodontics, we specialise in creating confident, natural-looking smiles through expert composite bonding. Doctors Anna and Lydia combine precision and artistry to reshape, refine and refresh your smile with stunning results. It's just one of the many ways Blue Poppy puts your smile first. Call us on 07491203555 or book online at bluepoppydental.com. Blue Poppy Dental and Orthodontics, Letterkenny and Donegal Town, where smiles shine brighter.
Tuair de bhór náir de bhic léin. Is féidir le seirbhísí bus nascáitiúil TFI atá ar fáil ar fud na tíre, tú a cheangal le réimse lehan choláistí ó cheann na bliana. Sa bháiltar sús le 50 géad ar hálaí agad nuair a bhaineann tú leas as do Hartalí TFI désa óga nó de bhic léin. Tuair cuairt ar transportforireland.ie. Is sinna Transport for Ireland. Is muid iompar dit.
At Foy's in Ballybuffet and Letterkenny, we're much more than a furniture store. We're your style destination. From elegant sofas to eye-catching lighting, luxurious beds to statement wall art, we offer the largest range of quality furniture and home decor in the Northwest. Every piece is selected for quality, comfort and timeless design. Check out our socials for exclusive offers and inspiration. Foy's, where great interiors begin.
Get ready, Donegal. The big Highland Bingo Party is here.
On Saturday the 29th of November, the Villa Rose Hotel, Ballybuffet transforms into the wildest Christmas party of the year.
Hosted by me, Keith Fletcher, Lee Gooch and Marty Friel on the decks.
Think festive cocktails, classic party anthems, ridiculous games of course, and mad bingo mayhem.
Loads of prizes on the night with the €1,000 top cash prize up for grabs.
You better be quick. Tickets are on sale. Grab yours on Eventbrite or check out highlandradio.com.
The big Highland Bingo Party. Over 18s.
Ha-ha! It's bingo, but not as you know it.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is
11:18. I'm in studio with Paul McLaughlin of Ballochdur Garden Centre. Quick question, or take as much time as you like, Hughie. Sorry, that's an awful way to introduce you. Good morning. What's your question for Paul, Hughie?
I was just asking about planting a little hedge, and this is the best time now. It's just only a little shrubs. Cut off another hedge. I'm just planting them. So how does it go now? Is that the best time?
Yes, now's the perfect time to do it actually. Well, like a lot of things, you have plenty of moisture going about. There's still a bit of heat in the soil, so now's the perfect time. Do you know what type of hedge it is?
It's a broadleaf one, but a lovely green one, like a broadleaf. But it's just a funny name on it, right?
It's probably the Gristolinia or the Laurel, I would say. But
well, I thought the Scalonia not.
Yeah, no, that's perfect.
But
just,
yeah, it's just only little slips I just took off this other hedge, like you know.
Aye, no, perfect. You can actually, if you put about the length of a pencil round that there, strip off some of the bottom leaves. You get in the garden centres that you can buy a thing called rooting powder. You just put a tiny wee bit in the end of the plant, and either stick them into pots or just stick them directly into the ground where you want the hedge to grow. And the key there would be to do like, say you want 50 plants, put in like 150 slips, if you know what I mean, because you'll growing slips like that, you'll never get 100%, but you should get a good lot of them, you know.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, lovely. Thanks very much.
Good luck with the hedge, Hodge. Good luck with the hedge, Hughie. Thank you so very much indeed. All right, and it's always nice if you can put your questions directly to Paul. Don't worry about that. Are robot mowers good for the lawn?
Yes, I would say robot mowers, they seem to be quite good. I think it was actually Michaela was in the last time I was chatting. My brother now has put a robot mower on half of his lawn. He's like two sides of the driveway. So one side
so
is
it's
robot.
a half a lazy git.
Pretty much. Yeah. Oh no. He's 100% lazy git. So yes, but he's just got half of it for a mower. Right, okay. So, but no, in terms, I've been watching it over the course of the year. And in fairness, like it's not a pristine lawn by any means, but the side with the robot actually does seem to be performing better than the side that he cuts normally with a lawnmower.
And there's different versions of it. You can get ones where you run a line around the area that you want. Or you get others that are GPS controlled and what have you. Yeah, so I mean, they're not a bad option.
No, they're not absolutely. Once again, if you have the sort of the area to justify it, maybe if I live like down the town there, and my garden wouldn't be big enough, I'd say to justify.
But that's all the more reason to get one.
Quite possibly.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Can you imagine it just constantly being done?
Just touring about.
I like the idea of it being cool. I never figure out how people use the robot vacuums.
Yes.
Because it wouldn't be able to get into everywhere it needs to go, but obviously they must be very popular.
They seem to be all right. So they do now, but that's you'd have to be running about lifting stuff out of its way.
That's what it feels like, or finishing the job, which that defeats the purpose.
Absolutely.
For me, I have a hydrangea. It's green at the bottom. The top is all red, and the leaves seem to be hanging. There are 2 flowers on it. What could be wrong?
What could be wrong? Possibly. Once you get maybe water could be a problem. Maybe it's just struggling a bit for water. Or see the way the leaves are sort of damaged at the top and the bottom seems to be okay.
Yeah.
Like the plant's trying to fight back almost. So maybe it was earlier on the year. Maybe it struggled for water for a while. But we bit of nutrition now. Once again, your poultry manure, that sort of stuff would be perfect. And a bit of that on now. Whenever the time comes and the flowers are off it, hydrangea actually benefits from being cut back.
Yeah.
So there's 2 schools of thought. Some people do it in the autumn, some people do it early in the spring. But give it a good cutting back, maybe reduce it by about half. And next year it should be perfect again.
Is now a good time to spray knotweed?
No, it's a good time to spray knotweed, yes. It would be probably a wee bit earlier. Sort of, I think the prime time sort of late July, August. But now at this stage, knotweed's a perennial plant, which means it dies back for the winter. And a lot of people reckon by spraying it now, it's dying back. So actually the chemical goes down into it better, sort of gets drawn down into it better. So
because it will be eating, or it gets its nutrition from the dead plants, and you're bringing it down with it.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
There's a bit of logic to that, isn't
but there? I think maybe ideally a few weeks ago, but now someone's better than nothing.
If it's okay, is it okay to put sulphite of iron on my lawn now, or is it too late? And what fertilizer would be recommended for overwintering the lawn to minimise moss growth next year? Thank you.
Yes, sulphate of iron. It's probably a wee bit late. The sulphate of iron is the thing you see in lawns that turns the lawns black. It sort of burns out the moss that way. If you put it on now, it might be a wee bit late in the sense that the growth might be sufficient to actually cover it and cover up the black for the winter. You could then end up with the black lawn for the winter, which is not ideal, if you know what I mean. So I would maybe just give it a run with a scarifier without the sulphate of iron, which will reduce the crop a lot. And generally, you get autumn feeds there, fertilizer wise, to be higher in potash. They feed the roots of the lawn over the winter, whereas the nitrogen one feeds the green part of the lawn, which is not ideal for this time of year.
From someone with no with no green fingers, why does Paul suggest putting gravel in the bottom of the pots? The reason I thought it was for drainage, and I actually like the weight.
Yes,
because we're in a sort of exposed area.
Yes,
is that it?
Yeah, yeah. The drainage is the main issue.
Yeah,
like pots, if they don't have sufficient drainage, will flood and just to sit too long.
And was it the dirt might compact and the water doesn't escape? And
yeah, so the gravel keeps the drainage holes open basically and allows somewhere for the excess water to go.
Yeah,
and it also adds weight, like you say, to stop them blowing over.
When's the best time to plant a raspberry bush? I've also heard they spread a lot. Would it be risky to put it in a rented house?
Not particularly risky to put it in a rented house. In terms of raspberry bushes they grow sort of in canes, the traditional way they grow. Early spring, the time to do them sort of in early March would be perfect time to plant them. Raspberries, they can spread a bit, but generally you keep them cut back, and they're not actually a deep-rooted plant, so if they're not hard to remove later on.
How do we get rid of moss off tar and cement? There's a lot of products out there.
Yes, there are a lot of chemical products. All right, I see actually driving about the last few days. I've seen a lot of people use washing powder.
Yeah,
is actually used,
and it doesn't have to be the best of the best.
No,
either.
they reckon actually the cheaper the better, nearly.
Yeah.
So it is. So a lot of people use that. Probably long-term preventative thing would be keep leaves off it, sort of keep
dry
debris, keep it dry as best you can.
I had awful problem with damp moss the back of the house. Cut a few trees back.
Yes,
it was astonishing the difference it made.
The moss just loves sort of sheltered damp areas, if you know what I mean. So if you can keep it dry, keep it like.
And I often think too, if you have that up to the sides of your walls, what's the impact actually on the property itself? Like it pays to sort of have an environment that doesn't encourage the growth of moss, I think.
Yes.
I have a holly tree 15 foot high and it is in lovely shape, but it's blocking light. Can I trim it and can it grow back?
Yes, trimming hollies by all means. Certainly wouldn't advocate cutting them down because of the wee folk, basically.
The fairies?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. But no, trimming would be perfect. I sort of, if you want to trim a tree like that, the key would be sort of little and often, if you know what I mean. Trim it back a bit, see how it looks, then trim it back another bit if necessary. But generally, you'll not do it any harm.
All right, I tried vinegar to kill weeds. It was a waste of time, but I want something natural to kill weeds. Any suggestions? Boiling water is one, is it?
Boiling water, actually, sort of natural. If it's in paved areas, that's salt.
Yeah.
Works quite well. The
Salt.
the like de-icing salt
Uh-huh.
would work quite well. Vinegar on its own works all right, but it's very short-lived because it doesn't kill the root.
Right, okay.
But if you mix it with Epsom salt and it's very liquid, it does do it it goes a wee bit stronger.
Gets a bit
So
deeper
it
on
does.
it, okay.
The other thing is key to that is check the actual acidity of your vinegar.
Mm.
'Cause sometimes you can buy vinegar that's actually it's quite weak. Whereas
Yeah.
if you go to some of the wholesale places, you get stuff up 19-20%, which would
Right.
be it's more concentrated.
Chip chop vinegar.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, yes. How do you overwinter dahlia tubers?
Daily tubers, they're still flowering now. We should be flowering through the month of September. As they start dying back, eventually you'd cut the foliage off them as they've died back.
I think some of us are maybe being a bit too quick to give up on the summer bedding plans, are we?
Yes, probably a bit alright, but a day like that you can see why. So you can.
Exactly.
But the dahlias, eventually one of the times you lift the tubers and sort of turn them upside down, a bit of dry compost and let them dry out for the winter.
Do you know anywhere I could get wild daisies?
Wild daisies, not particularly. I'm not sure about the legality of sort of lifting them. If you suppose if you had permission, because I don't think they're protected by any means.
Right,
if you
okay.
know what I mean. But I take it they're probably chatting about the bigger growing daisies, like the ones that get up to maybe 2 foot high. But most garden centres would carry them through the summer months.
I've been growing 2 varieties of pears in Donegal over 20 years and they ripen perfectly every year. An orchard picked pear is one of the best tasting fruits and it can be bought in a shop. I wonder, is that a reference in our last conversation about pears not ripening
Yes,
maybe necessarily as
Yeah.
in our environment as they could?
Yes, quite possibly. All right, I suppose I can really speak to my own experience there, which I've always had bother ripening them. If you know.
Yeah,
what I mean.
well,
But
hey, keep doing what you're
yes,
doing if you're getting them.
absolutely.
If you're getting them, is it too early or too late to feed chicken manure to hedging?
No, now would be a grand time because there's still plenty of growth there for the next month, so now would be a good time.
We answered this, I think. When's the best time to set cuttings from the hedge to create another hedge?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
anytime.
What could I plant to grow quick and create a 12-foot hedge? 12 foot in height or length? 12-foot hedge, that's a biggie.
12-foot hedge is quite a big one, all right. For speed there, once again, probably the dreaded Lalande, but as it is going to
But
be
they're
the quickest to get
fantastic if you look after them.
Absolutely.
But they're a nightmare to
But
look
the,
after.
The problem is, like 20, 30 years down the line, they can be very hard to hold back.
Yeah.
Pretty much. For any sort of hedging around here, I would also advocate Gristlinia.
Will that go to 12 feet?
Yes, it will grow to 12 feet, all right. Once again, it gets quite wide. You have to, any hedge you're going to let go to 12 feet.
If it's
You're gonna
going
have
up, it's going to go out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you have to sort of judge on what sort
And
of
then
space
you
have
start
available.
sort of trying to make it more narrow. Presumably it starts exposing...
wooden bits and stuff.
Exactly, yeah.
So now Gristlinia will get there. Mightn't be as quick as Landy, but we'll get there.
All right, okay.
Easier managed.
Yeah, and it won't take your house over and your neighbour's house and the rest of the county. Right, Paul, thanks so very much indeed. Paul McLaughlin of Ballochdur Garden Centre, Ballochdur, Letterkenny. Call in and chat to Paul and the team in the Ballochdur Garden Centre with any questions. Take pictures with you. They can even give you advice using Google Maps, satellite images and all that kind of stuff. And, of course, we've fantastic garden centres right across the region as well. And they all generally are very glad to see you coming and answering your questions and helping you out. For now, Paul, thank you.
Thank you.
I look forward to planting my plants. I shall do that as soon as the weather breaks.
Very good. Excellent.
And I'll track it for next spring. All right, we'll be back with more on the 9 till noon show after a break.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Má tá tú idir 5 agus 7 bliain díos, joid tú cuireadh scág hástáil potoige bailíon HSE siar an aisce íonna. Cabhraíonn an scág hástáil le cóirí luadáilte potoige aimsiú, solamíonn aon symptom le feiceáil agus bíonn sin níos fosa í a chóireáil chomhár.
Ensure the safety of your team with SafeTech. We have part-funded courses in first aid, people moving and handling, confined spaces, food hygiene, quad bikes, fire warden, IPAF MUPS, electrofusion, welding and machinery cards for Ireland and UK sites. Also delivering online courses like utilities, water hygiene and construction supervisors. SafeTech can deliver group training at your business premises. To find out more, contact safetech.ie today.
Free inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal, your essential guide to the ploughing 2025. Our bumper 80-page supplement has everything you need: exhibitor listings, site map, event programmes and where to park. Don't miss your free guide to the ploughing 2025, only inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
Finharps are back in FEI Cup action this Friday evening. The Ballybuffet side will host Cork City at the quarter-final stage, and if you can't make it to Finn Park for the big game, you can tune in Highland's way. We'll have full match commentary on air and online at highlandradio.com from 7:40pm this Friday evening. Finharps on Highland in association with B&S Credit Union Ballybuffet, where their Renovate loan and vacant property loan can help you turn dreams into reality. Flexible lending with personal service. Visit bnscu.ie or free phone 1-800-290-390. B&S Credit Union Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Náidé mail nar oin tú de chuire chun scág hástal potuige íana. Glíorín a hochtég a náid a cara cuig a cara cuig a cuig a cuig. No túr cuairt bowlscreen.ie. Own HSE.
Okay, we're joined in studio now by Councillor Ali Farron, manager also of the Malin Head Community Centre. How are you, Ali?
Great.
Do you get dizzy when you travel this far down?
Yeah, it takes you over an hour, like, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Do you have to get a passport clearance or anything?
Nearly,
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. No ice cream cone in your hands today?
No ice cream today yet.
Okay. Right. Thanks for joining us because it's part of efforts underway to establish a community first responder team in the Malin area. Surprised there isn't one there yet, and we've seen the success and the importance of them elsewhere. So a brilliant project to try and get off the ground.
Well, I was asked basically by the district nurse if we could help to set up one for the Malin parish. Like you mentioned there, how long did it take me to get here? Like, if an ambulance has to leave Letterkenny to get to Malin Head today, or vice versa, you're talking probably an hour and a half. So the idea is that we're looking to set up a first responder group again. Now, there was one, there was a Red Cross or there was a defibrillator group there before. Yeah. But COVID and one thing and another, it phased out. And it was a very stressful kind of a thing, because if the night that you were on, they handed you the phone and you hoped that the phone did not ring. And so the system now is slightly different. It's run by the Irish Ambulance Service, and it's more app-based. And from what I can gather, we form a group that'll cover the whole parish of Malin, and that will then be able to link in with the likes of Bochan on one side, and then we have the Clonmany first responders in North Inishowen. So, like, if we could get the group up and running, that they are in a position that they could save or try to save a life.
But they do, you see. That's what we find time and time again. I'm always, we've been helped promote the establishment of first responding units right across the county. Yeah. And they normally come back maybe a year on. And it's astonishing the amount of times they've called to houses, even just actually to be there in the time of crises, but delivering interventions that have saved lives or bought that time. They talk about that hour being critical. You talked about the distance between Outnagelvin or Letterkenny. They are on site to buy more time, you know, and they save lives. If this is established in the first year, there'll be lots of call-outs and lives will be saved. And also, too, Ali, you know, the more people are involved in it, the less there is pressure on.
That was the point I was trying to get at. Yeah. You know, like, we don't want it left to half a dozen people to look after the whole parish, and we would love to get 20 or 30 people. And it's a case. This system now is a case of if you are available to go. It's not that you have to be available to go. So that's what we want to. The more people you have, the better. And talking to people, some people are afraid, it could be down to me to save somebody's life. But if they knew there was 2 or 3 people available in the same area to go and assist, that they could help together, would be far better.
And I've known situations on certain calls where, and no one's judged, some people don't go to certain things and do go to others. And I don't need to go to the ins and outs of that, but suffice to say there's movement there. And also too, in terms of training and coordination, there's help with that as well too, which I think is
we know there is help, but again, we've got to do things for ourselves. So our next meeting is next Wednesday in Malin GA, by the way, and we're basically looking for people to come along to see what it's going to entail first, and then hopefully sign up to the training and to developing the group further.
Listen, this has been replicated in many, many places. There is a system and it can get up and running really, really quickly. So if you want to get involved, maybe you were in some former shape of this in the area, or you want to get involved and help save a life, because invariably this group, once established, will save lives. Get yourself along to the Malin GEA Clubhouse next Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. So it is next Wednesday evening, the 17th. And the more, the merrier. There's probably a few stalwarts that will be there, right? And that's great, but you need a big crowd there to give everyone a role and a job.
To learn, and you can't say, well, we didn't tell you. So the district nurse is going to be chairing the meeting, and she's going to be informed. There'll be a bit of an information evening, and hopefully we'll be able to set this group in motion and be more beneficial for the whole community.
Brilliant stuff. And we'll remind listeners, if I'm reminded, next Monday and Tuesday, just to ensure as best as possible, there's a great turnout at Malin GEA Clubhouse next Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. Now, I wanted to ask you as well too about a recent meeting with ISPCA Éireann. It's always good if you can get them in the same room. You pulled that one off. What's the takeaways from it? I mean, the water system in Inishowen is brutal. It's not exclusive to Inishowen, but in terms of outages, regular outages, the amount of time the water's out, the damage to showers, washing machines, the quality of the water as the water comes back on, it's like you fix one length and another breaks. It's a big, big problem. Historical lack of investment in the water infrastructure. ISPCA Éireann, do they recognise that?
Well, I think they do, and they're basically saying that this is something that they've inherited, and there's not enough. I think they're a few billion short in investment for the country, but from our point of view as a councillor, we probably spend too much time dealing with it, and to me, ISPCA Éireann, we're faceless. We don't get to see them. Like if you have a problem with somebody in the council, we can go and meet them. These people are faceless to us, so. This was my second opportunity since being elected to get to sit with them and have a chat with them. The last time I done it online, and I just didn't feel, you need to be able to make eye contact with
people.
You
see, the thing for me, Ali, is this. Whatever you inherited, that's fine. Let's draw a line under that. Okay, you get a pass. What are your plans, right? And then we can start pointing fingers at funding for that, right? Yeah. So I would take ISPCA Éireann far more seriously if they say, funding is tight, but these are our plans when we get funding available. And then councillors and TDs and radio stations and what have you then can start pressuring for more funding. Do you feel they recognise the issues in Inishowen, the obvious ones, right? And they have a plan to fix them, even if it's not funded yet?
I think they have taken on board some of our, staffing is one of the major issues at the moment in North Inishowen, and they were saying that they don't have enough people looking for jobs. So there's an opportunity for a lot of people here that might be interested in working for ISPCA, and they're probably quite good jobs. So it might be something that local people could look into. But we need to get people on, in the area working.
In terms of what's coming up, they confirmed 3 kilometres of mains going into Clonmany.
Yeah, well, that was a major issue there over the summer as well. They're going to do that this year, and we had a network or piping that was left on site down and around Malin Head that we always thought was going to be replaced, and they took the pipe away. So that now is back on the agenda for, I think, 2026. So I'm kind of delighted about that, because we can't tar the roads Wild Atlantic Way until that is done. So certain wee things, but some of it is, it's the facelessness of it. Only for a few of the good lads that we've built up acquaintances with, that they'll answer the phone to you. Otherwise, we have to call. We're using call centres and things like that, and it's very frustrating.
Yeah, Anne Francis messaged in here. We are Glenties cardiac first responders registered. If you need any help or advice setting up, don't be afraid to contact us.
Thank you very much for that.
It's a nice one, isn't it? And I think, Anne, that's relatively recent, isn't it? A couple of years, and lives have certainly been saved.
Well, we're very lucky in Shown. At the moment, we have Buncrana, which they were a big team of them there down giving us advice the last day. We have Newton and Clemany are very open and very helpful as well. So we'll be reaching out to them guys. Balkan now is coming on stream shortly, as is Muff, and hopefully soon
that Malin gap needs to be
and then
filled.
We probably need to look about getting Cairn sorted then.
Right, thank you to Councillor Ali Farron for helping us with signs, for making people aware of the rip currents in Mulville, Greencastle and Glenburnie. We had a safe summer thanks to this effective signage from Liam O'Brien and all swimmers and water users. All right. Nice. Don't like reading positive messages out about councillors, but
we don't get many positive ones, so maybe we should embrace them, I'm
only messing. So just in terms of, sorry to jump between a few, but that was the nature of the invite, right? The residents and tourism all affected by poor water in Inishowen and elsewhere. I think really the message, the takeaway from this is great where positive things are happening. Fair play to local staff on the ground for digging out perhaps when they don't need to have to. There are staff shortages. Maybe there's job opportunities for locals there. But also, I think it's very much in Iska Erin's it's in their interest to have regular face-to-face meetings. We might not always like the outcome, right?
Or we asked for that today. We've
let's meet, and at least then maybe you need us to back you a bit more. But if we're on the same page, we can progress things.
Well, there's meetings happening yesterday, and some of the comments coming out of that have been very negative. But I felt today, while there's a lot of negativity, we have to see the positives, and we need them to listen to us too, because it's us that's getting it in the neck. It's not them that's getting it in the neck. So we did ask for them to meet us more often. Now they're saying that there's only 24 hours in a day and they can only work so hard and one thing or another. But locally, I think we should be able to meet local Iska reps more often.
Yeah, indeed. And we were talking a little earlier on too about the housing agency and their no-showing at a lot of these DCB meetings as well. I think the public deserve respect, and I think the councillors deserve respect as well to try and make these meetings where they are scheduled, and to try and schedule meetings where they're required. All right, Ali, listen, thank you very much for calling in. I do appreciate your time. All right, take care of yourself. That's Councillor Ali Farron there. We'll be back with more on the show after a quick break.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
The 9 till noon show is coming live this Friday from the TBEX conference at the ATU in Letterkenny. Join us to find out more about some of the world's top bloggers and content creators in association with Go Visit Letterkenny at the heart of Donegal.
You've got experience. Now it's time to build on it. With Skills to Advance, get the tools to grow with flexible, tailor-made courses in areas like AI, digital skills, sustainability, technology, leadership and management. They're short, practical and low cost. So whether you're looking to step up, switch paths or stay sharp, this is your next move. Contact your local education and training board or visit skillstoadvance.ie. Skills to Advance. Boost skills, boost business. Supported by Solus and the Government of Ireland.
Imagine sinking into a perfect comfort every night. At Restex Beds, we believe a better sleep means a better life. Choose from our vast range of quality mattresses and find the one that's perfect for you. Restex Beds, Mountaintop, Letterkenny. Leave the rest to us.
it's Patrick Feeney here, and I'm looking forward to the Highland Radio Country Music Weekend at the Clanry Hotel in Letterkenny this October the 31st and November the 1st. I'll be on stage along with Michael English, David James, Stacey Breen and Jordan McFadden. It's going to be 2 fantastic nights of music and dancing, but spaces are filling fast, so book now at theclanryhotel.com or highlandradio.com.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McElhenny's. With new season styles arriving daily, discover the latest fashion, footwear and accessories for autumn in store or shop online at mcelhennys.com today.
Right, so today will be cool and breezy with sunny spells and showers, some heavy with a chance of isolated thunderstorms and hail. Spot flooding is possible too. Temperatures 13 or 14 degrees. Now, I was contacted by Fiona, who emailed as follows. Hi Greg, I understand that a caller to the 9 till noon show yesterday had a query about the rubbish line beside the waterworks at Loch Salt. This was rubbish collected by the Northwest Walking and Mountaineering Club on their annual clean-up last Sunday. It had been arranged that the council would collect it from there during the week. Kind regards, Fiona. Yes, Fiona, we got to the bottom of that, and fair play to you and the team for that clean-up. And it kind of looked too organised for me to have been dumped in that fashion. So we did conclude that fair play to yous, but that rubbish had to be there in the first instance for you to go out and collect it. So we still need to sort things out in terms of our respect for our surrounds. Right, now Joanne Sweeney is author of the AI Playbook. She's also CEO of the Digital Training Institutes. Good morning to you, Joanne. How are you keeping? Joanne, sorry, beg your pardon.
Good morning, Greg. I'm great. Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you on. Right, AI in the workplace. You're of the sense that this is all good news, right?
Well, listen, whether you think it's good news or bad news, it is the news that we all have to embrace. AI is here, it's mainstream, and most of your listeners, or many of your listeners, are probably using ChatGPT because they've got 800 million users across the world. But for sure, it's going to change workplaces and kind of make them unrecognizable. Obviously, some workplaces are going to be more impacted than others. And, you know, I'm going to put my hand up here. I'm a marketing and a communications professional. And, you know, some people might say, well, why would we hire Joanne anymore to write our comms strategy when actually ChatGPT could do it for us? So yeah, we're entering into a new time. People say that it's greater than the revolution of the internet itself.
What I found interesting, but not surprising actually, in recent studies is that workers are more inclined seemingly to be availing of and using AI than businesses themselves. So, you know, the adaptation from businesses to use it in different ways seems to be lagging behind people in the workplace using it on the everyday.
Yeah, it's called shadow AI, which means that workers are using it without any policy or guidelines in place. And that's just because the technology moves so fast. We're curious, we're a smartphone generation, and it's absolutely free. And if you're at work and you can ask ChatGPT to write an email for you, you know, to a disgruntled client or to your manager, and it kind of helps you get you out of a hole, then you're potentially going to do it. But from a business or an organization and an employer point of view, they probably don't have the policy. Maybe they're not investing in the enterprise version of those apps that kind of lock down settings and maintain privacy a bit better. So yeah, users can move before employers, and that's definitely the case right now.
And I think that what people struggle, you know, they open up ChatGPT or Gemini or Grok or whatever it might be, and, you know, they might create an image, they might play around with a bit of Photoshop, for want of a better word, and then that's it, right? The issue is how you use it, what you understand it can do, and that's beneficial, that you can trust it, you can lean on it. Do you need a paid service, not a paid service? You know, I think that's really where we're at now. It's there, it's established, it's not going to go away seemingly, but I think people are struggling as to, well, how does it benefit me?
Yeah, and that's the first thing the first thing is you need a policy. How do we use it? Why do we use it? And what are we going to use it for? And it's called an AI use case. So, for example, you do research, and your producers do research for your show every morning and in advance of that the day before. So you're going to be looking at what's trending in the news, who's saying what, like, overnight, the big story from the US is the shooting of Charlie Kirk. So obviously you'd be maybe using something like Perplexity to say, well, who's saying what? What is Donald Trump saying? What are both sides of the political fence saying?
It's what you input into that is so important, though, because if you were to use Grok for an example, it draws from tweets. Okay, so you'd be getting the conspiracy theories, you'd be getting the left version, the right version, and some version whatsoever. So it's what you input into that is very useful in what the output is. I think I wouldn't use it in that way, but it's a very good example. Don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't trust the output on certain platforms, right? But if I tailored the input, I can have better control of the type of information I'm getting back in return, and then that's where the value is.
Yeah, they say garbage in, garbage out. So if you're putting garbage in, you'll get garbage out. And also we should use it where we have knowledge. So if I was putting something into, ChatGPT about biochemistry, I have absolutely no idea whether what it's giving to me is truth or not. So we should be looking at AI plus me is better, but using it with good intent to improve what we already know. But certainly AI in the wrong hands is absolutely very dangerous. And remember, these models, they predict the next word. That's just what it is. It's probability. It's mathematics. So they're trained. It's a supercomputer brain trained on information that it's given. And yes, there's bias inherent. So depending on what it's being trained on, what information, so tweets from Grok, for example, then it's going to spit out bias. So you're in the world of journalism and in the public interest news and the arbiter of the truth. You add AI on top of it and it can make things very complex for a consumer of content. But in the workplace, this is where you need to be very discerning and very critical in your thinking about how you're using it, because they can hallucinate, they can make things up, because the bot wants to make the human happy. They're described as sycophantic tools.
So in your book, right, you can't target every single business and every single application. So you're obviously, I presume, I haven't had sight of it yet, it's a framework that I imagine that's employable. So what are the basics of that then?
Yeah, it's targeted at communications and marketing professionals, because that's my profession. And then anyone who has to manage AI. So the framework is get a policy. What tools are we using? Why are we using them? Have we developed use cases? Are we paying for tools? Because obviously privacy is very important, because if anybody puts in sensitive financial confidential information, you're training the model. That's how they get trained. And then simply it's teaching how to communicate with bots. It's called prompting. So you can really cleverly tell the bot and ask the bot what to do by giving it specific information. And then the level beyond that is creating custom assistance. So, for example, when I was in Harvard in July doing AI in public policy, and one of the assignments we had to do was create a bot by the end of the week. So I created PaulBot, which was a political communications assistant trained in a couple of my books, a couple of my training courses and books. And she was able to write press releases and do media briefings. So again, then you're customizing your assistant to what you want to do. You train it in your own knowledge and put those guardrails in place.
Yeah, and I think, which I'm quite excited about, whether that's sad or not too, is Google is soon going to be integrating Gemini into their smart speakers and stuff more generally. And then what will be interesting about that is, with Assistant at the moment, it spews out just Google searches or whatever. It's going to be interesting to see. I think that's going to be one of the first real examples of it being integrated into a smart home and your life, and what can it do in terms of appointments and schedules and that type of thing. So that's going to be our end. Obviously, in business and other areas, things are already well advanced in that regard. How did PaulBot do? Theoretically, do you still have a job?
Well, this is it. I mean, there were 74 of us on the course, right? And 4 of us got to present. And one of the professors said to me, Joanne, so what value do you bring? Because you've just created something that can do what you do. And I said, well, I would have scored her 75%. She still needed me to kind of go in and give some nuance and extra context. But Greg, I'm definitely off the belief that unless I kind of pulled up my socks and really leaned into this AI age, then I potentially could have been defunct and worthless.
No, I think you're all right. I'm still not fully convinced that we're not in an AI bubble. To be honest with you, I know that there are some very fantastic real world applications, and I'm not a denier. I'm just wonder, could this be the 3D TV in every house? And that's why I'm excited about, when Google integrates more, is there going to be a broad use for this? I'm keeping an eye on, am I going to start shorting NVIDIA at this point? Do you know what I mean? Because it just feels to me like there's a lot of money going into this. There's a lot of big players. It's like when we had two different types of video recorders. I just don't know where it's going to go. And I'm still not fully convinced there's not a bubble here that could pop. But that's not to say that certainly in business, it's there forever. It's going to be around forever. I don't know what your views are in relation to that.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of money being pumped into it. And actually, Anthropic was valued, I can't remember the exact number, but about, $180 billion. Now, put that in perspective. That's more than airlines. Do you know what I mean? And you could say, well, that business is only 2 years old. How can it be valued more than an airline that's been around for 30? So that would speak to some sort of bubble. Also, MIT conducted some research recently, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and they found that 95% of investment in major AI projects did not return any investment. So there's a lot of hype at the moment. And I guess what I try and do in the book is ground people in what is AI, how should you be applying it, and how you can use AI for good.
For sure. And I believe the space that you're in is outside of any bubble because it's already there. And I think if you're not using it in business, you are behind your competitors potentially.
You are. And actually, I met my older brothers recently and I said, guys, have you heard about ChatGPT? And they were like, no. And I downloaded it and you should have seen how they responded to it. So then they started dictating to me what I should put into it. And I said, get your own app. But yeah, it's quite mind blowing.
Okay. Brilliant stuff. And the book is targeted at the public and private sector professionals as well. Policymakers and legislators, again, another area you need to get ahead of that, but not exclusively to that cohort. You think there's others that might, and where can they get the book, Joanne?
Yeah, basically, I give it to 30 advanced readers, and one reader said, it's the Bible for AI literacy. You will understand AI if you read this book. Yeah. It's available at aimarketingplaybook.ie, or from tomorrow you can get it on Amazon. But I definitely appeal to the Irish listeners to get it off aimarketingplaybook.ie.
Thanks so much, Joanne. Bye-bye. That's Joanne Sweeney, author of AI Playbook. Now, the 9 till noon show live tomorrow morning from the ATU in Letterkenny. It's part of the TBEX International Travel Content Summer, Content Creators Summit. There'll be the usual Friday panel, of course. We'll also have some live music. We're going to chat to presidential candidate Catherine Connolly, and we'll also hear from the TBEX organisers and some of those content creators who are attending the conference. It's going to be a really interesting show tomorrow. They all are, I think, but that one in particular.